Tuesday, September 11th at 2018 at 6:30 p.m. Would everyone please rise for an invocation by Board Member McCray, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us bow to the Creator and Maker of all mankind. Father, here we are once more again, standing in your presence to do business for this great city. We ask that you will lead us and guide us cognizant of what we say and how we say it. Bless everyone who's gathered here. Bless their families in your name that we pray.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call, please?
Board Chairman Grant.
Here.
Board Member Costello.
Here.
Vice Chair Romulus.
Present.
Board Member McCray.
Here.
Board Member Katz.
Yep.
Your quorum.
Thank you. Additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda. I'd like to move item 13B before announcements and awards. That's the discussion of the goals and objectives of the Neighborhood Officer Program.
So moved.
Yeah, there's some motion by Board Member Costello, second by Katz. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Seeing none, agenda is approved unanimously. Any legal, Tara?
None tonight.
Thank you. Informational items and disclosures by board members and CRA staff. Board Member Katz.
Nothing to disclose.
Board Member McCray.
Nothing to disclose.
Vice Chair Romulus. Board Member Costello.
Nothing to disclose, Mayor.
Neither do I. So, moving forward to item 13B, discussion of the goals and objectives of the Neighborhood Officer Program for fiscal year 2018-2019.
Yes, good evening, Board. Michael Simon, Executive Director of the CRA. As was directed by the Board, I met with Chief Gregory, Assistant Chief DiGiulio, and Major Michael Johnson yesterday afternoon to discuss the current goals and objectives of the Neighborhood Officer Program as defined in your backup for fiscal year 2018 and 19. And with one of the things that the new chief had requested is the board's allowing his opportunity to spend some time developing and interacting with the officers a little bit longer before he didn't want to make any kind of drastic changes, or anything he thought, as did Assistant Chief DiGiulio and Major Johnson, that for the most part, everything that we have in our goals and objective bullets on page 3 of the program are fine. They would like to see some additional emphasis on bullet number 3, which is to more readily and further identify neighborhood-specific problems and help with the coordination of other city services to resolve those issues. Those might be something like, the code enforcement type thing or dumping, just to kind of be a little more interactive with that. And the automated license plate reader, back to trying to get that more stationary in the heart of Boynton. The CRA, as you know, purchased one of their 2 readers, and it is restricted to the CRA district, which it has been, but the chief thought that there would be a way to use that maybe a little more effectively even than we are now. So for those of you that know, he wanted to be here this evening, but there is a 9/11 ceremony at 7. It was tight for his schedule. So I don't know if Major Johnson, oh, there he is, great. If you want to speak to the Major, he's here. It's up to you. Otherwise, we were going to bring back kind of a little bit further analysis in November is where the gist was.
Board Member Katz.
Yeah, I'd requested this just to take stock of the program after all these years and see if there's a way to increase any benefit to the community. And I respect the position of the new chief that coming into his job and having so little time here, I respect that he wouldn't want to make any immediate recommendations. So personally, I'd request maybe in 6 months, once he's gained a little more perspective on the program, to potentially just come back and give us his thoughts and insights. And at that point, we'll see moving forward for next fiscal year what we may or may not decide to do in terms of tweaks and changes. So with that, I'd offer a motion to approve with that plan for about 6 months or so to have the chief come in and give some thoughts at that point,
Board Member Katz, 6 months or sooner?
whenever he feels comfortable.
Okay. Yes, Vice Chair.
I concur and I'll second that.
Okay. The only item that I had with the Neighborhood Office Program is at one of our corners of Boynton Beach Boulevard and Federal. I've heard a lot of bad things about that regarding the nighttime. So I know that our Neighborhood Officer Program isn't specifically for nighttime, but I would want to know what can we do in the CRA during, after hours. Okay. All right. Yes, Board Member McCray.
Thank you. I spoke with the chief last night, and he's at that 9/11 program at Christ Fellowship here in our city. And he said that what he's going to be bringing to us is going to be called like a second layer. And I'm in favor of the 6 months or sooner. I'm just saying, he said you really want to get his handle and get in here to find out really what is going on, to get the guts to find out what can be done and we can improve on what we already have. So I'm in favor of it.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to announcements and awards, the 2018 Florida Festivals and Events Sunshine Awards.
Good evening, Board. Tracy Smith Coffey, Marketing and Business Development. I would like to introduce you to Cindy Martin. She is the Florida Festivals and Events Awards Committee Chair, and she's going to be presenting to you the awards that we received at the FFEA conference that just happened in August for the marketing for our events. And here's Cindy Martin.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Boynton Beach. How are you?
Doing well.
My name is Cindy Martin, and as Tracy said, I serve as the Florida Festival and Events Association Award Committee Chairperson, and Boynton Beach did fabulous this year at our awards. Yes, please give yourself a hand. There were 72 total awards given out in Palm Beach County. These awards are for the fabulous festivals that are done. The FFEA, Florida Festival and Events Association, is a nonprofit trade organization that represents 3,500 events and festivals in the state of Florida. Of those that entered for the award, 72 were won by Palm Beach County entities, and 12 were run by Boynton Beach. So that's amazing. There was a tie for first place in Palm Beach County between the City of West Palm Beach and the South Florida Fair and Expo Center. Both of those organizations are huge and produce over 200 event dates themselves. Number 2 was Boynton Beach with 12, yay. And you have a very small team down here. My understanding is your CRA marketing group and event group is about 3 full-time people. So you won up against groups that have 10 to 12 full-time marketing and event people in their cities and properties. So that's amazing. The awards you won were all for the outstanding marketing, which, as we know, if you're going to have a party, and that's what these events are, you got to send an invitation. So your marketing is your invitation. And Boynton Beach CRA won 3rd place for outdoor banners for the Martin Luther King Celebration of Unity. 3rd place for the Boynton Beach and Delray Beach Holiday Boat Parade, a collaboration for your outdoor signage. 3rd place for outdoor banners for the Blarney Bash. 2nd place for the promotional poster for the Boynton Beach Holiday Tree Lighting and Concert. 1st place for the best photo. That's in the whole state of Florida. Best photo in your category for your event. The Boynton Beach Haunted Pirate Fest and Mermaid Splash took it all home. Let me tell you, they were very impressed at the state level with what you're doing here. 3rd place was for your radio ad, a third place award for one of your promotional items, a third place award for your event recap and annual report, which is a resource that you use to get sponsorship and discover grant dollars, I'm sure. Second place for your PR and media campaign for the Boynton Beach Haunted Pirate Fest and Mermaid Splash. And then three first place awards for the Boynton Beach Haunted Pirate Fest and Mermaid Splash for your social media campaign, which that's getting all those millennials who we want to bring into town and let them know this is a great place to live, work, and play. And first place for your outdoor ad banners, telling everyone who drives through here. I was telling Tracy as I drove in today from West Palm, I see those banners all over down here. It's exciting. And first place for your Facebook post about the Boynton Beach Haunted Pirate Fest and Mermaid Splash. So you guys should be really, really, really proud. I know the people at FFEA were, and there was lots of other cities and properties looking at what you did. And I know West Palm Beach, because that's one of the groups I work with, is talking to Tracy about mermaids and all kinds of things you're doing. So you're serving as a resource for other communities too. So thank you and congratulations.
Moving on to, yes.
I'd just like to say to our CRA staff, Tracy, and everybody who will help you, congratulations, job well done. This is why, I'm just saying, when we be talking about dollars and saying this is the best that we can do the best that you can. Congratulations again. You all are really making
Thank
Boynton
you.
look good and keeping us on the map. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to do a quick little photo op if we could before Cindy leaves, just for social media purposes.
Are we
If-
going to stand behind the podium?
Just like in the middle here, just quickly,
Okay.
and we'll just,
Well, no, what I'm saying is that we all stand behind the podium so Renee can take the picture behind us.
okay.
That sound good?
idea, if you don't mind.
That's why she's good at her job.
Yeah, that's why she's there. Board member Casella, hello, I didn't speak to you. Amen, Lee.
This way it's a little bit easier than instead of, or unless you're taking all of them down.
No, we're all going to try to fit in. So let's take all the staff and then,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and then the commissioners and, the board members.
All right,
And
let me,
Peek over your shoulder.
Get it close. Did you get us?
all right, this is the staff one, so.
Oh, you don't want me in your staff one. You just want to get in your staff one. Okay.
Ready, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
I think we can we off it? I'll punch down. Can you
Yeah, I
see
can do that.
behind me?
Then you're blocking the.
Right, ready, 1, 2, 3. Okay, great.
Great, thank you.
So much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to public comments. Individual speakers will be limited to 3-minute presentations. Please state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, moving on to consent agenda. We have a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to old business, item A. CRA Board discussion and consideration of Executive Director's annual performance review. I
Motion.
believe,
It said table.
Yep, so may I
Motion
have
to
a-
remove from table.
thank you. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, move from the table. I believe the last time we had this discussion was to see what other CRAs paid their executive director. We did receive a few, but not all, responses, and so I will entertain a motion from the board with what we would like to do. Yes, Board Member Katz.
Jog my memory, because I think you spoke to it last time. What was the previous recommendation with regard to retirement compensation or matching, or did we already approve that?
That was already approved.
For the staff and the executive director?
Yes, sir.
So this will be purely your...
All right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
In looking at the comparables from other adjacent municipalities or CRAs rather, I would make a recommendation personally. I won't make it as a motion because I'll wait for everyone to discuss and weigh in on their own. But I would like to make a motion ultimately to move his compensation in line with Delray or Lake Worth, or average the two together. I think that, as evidenced by the fact that we've taken employees from other cities and other CRAs, that there's always the potential risk of losing a high caliber employee, and I wouldn't want what's evidently a lagging compensation package to leave the door open to wanting to potentially look elsewhere. So given the performance and the evaluations from last meeting and over the past year and change with Executive Director Mike Simon, I recommend splitting the difference between Delray and Lake Worth, which I guess is approximately 152-ish thousand, as a total compensation package. If he would like to increase the portion that's allocated for expenses, car and cell phone, then that would take some away from the actual base salary. But I think that he's deserving, and we should be willing to retain his talent by putting him at a competitive salary package. So somewhere in between Delray and Lake Worth, I think, is, in my opinion, appropriate.
So I concur, but I'd use the number of 10%. So that would be an extra $13,500. Thank you. And that the car, cell, et cetera, would be the same. I think that's still fair, and we can discuss, if he's having, problems with the expenses of a car and a cell, that's not being covered, then that's a discussion for next year, I would say.
I would support that line of thought.
Yes, Board Member McCray?
Thank you. I know that it seems like a lot, going up, but my whole take is that we have staff that works with Mr. Simon, and I don't want us to start giving a whole lot of money, and then we turn around and say, well, they look at us and say, well, you gave him all that, and you give us but 3% or something like that. I'm just saying, his job is more involved than theirs, but I'm just saying, I like to make sure that, we be a happy medium so that staff, I don't want to lose staff any kind of way. I don't want to lose a director, and I don't want to lose staff. I'm just saying staff itself is also being, tugged between Delray and Lake Worth. I'm just saying if we want to look at it, I'm just saying, let's be kind of fair and reasonable. He's doing an outstanding job, but I think we kind of need to be cognizant of what we're giving people when it comes to raises.
Okay. Yes, Board Member Casello.
Well, going on that thought that Board Member McCray said, it's a team effort. As we just witnessed tonight, we got 12 awards there, and it was a team effort. And every team has a quarterback. And I would say Mike Simon has been the quarterback for this team. And usually, in team sports, the quarterback usually gets a good paycheck, more than the linemen, let's say, or the running backs. It's might be a little off analogy, but not far. I think the last time we discussed this, we had mentioned how he's a progressive thinker. He thinks outside the box. I know since I've been sitting up here, you've turned this CRA, in my opinion, 180 degrees around as far as being progressive and getting things done in a timely fashion manner. I praised you for saving the city hundreds of thousands of dollars with coming up with the idea with the church that we bought on Federal, and then suggested that we donate it for a period of time to the city to use for a temporary library. I think that's how thinking out the box does us great work here. So I would go with that same train of thought that you and Board Member Katz has, somewhere between that Delray and Lake Worth number.
All right, so,
I have another comment.
yes.
You know, I'm just saying, you know, we have to be cognizant. We said that we don't want to, we want to give them what everybody else is getting, but then you have to be cognizant as well. I'm just saying, when you start giving salaries and everybody else start looking, they might say, hey, you know, I want to go and work for Boynton. So, you know, we have to kind of like balance this balance that we're doing. I'm just saying, we have to be careful. I'm just saying, you could balance yourself and get yourself out of the ballpark. I'm just saying, you can say, well, we gave them this, so everybody's on the same keel. And then that's what they said. But they said, but hey, I would like what Boynton did. I want to take his job. I'm just saying, you know, let's kind of be mindful. I'm, you know, 10%, you know, I'm not really ready to go to 10%. I'm just saying, you know, he does everything except walk on water, but he just not walking on water yet.
So, Board Member McCray, what would you feel is a good percentage then?
You know, I'm just saying, why don't we do something like 8, because we got to look at staff. I'm just saying, we need money to give staff raises too. I'm just saying, you know, we got to play to get the ball right. I'm just saying, if he feel like he's not comfortable with what we give him, then he can say, you know what, I thank you all, but I think y'all could have done better. You know, let's hear from him. I'm just saying, he might be happy without even getting a raise. I don't know.
I'm going to ask Vice Chair if you have any comments before we open it up to the Executive Director.
Yes, I do, and I hear both sides of the argument. I definitely concur with Commissioner Katz in terms of we want to make sure that we have a well-compensated team, especially in light of these awards and the recognition that we're getting statewide. But at the same time, I also concur with Commissioner McCray, being that we have staff that sometimes we're at the bargaining table trying to figure out whether we can afford to give them 2 or 3% raises. And I just want to make sure does a lot of work to carry the organization, but the organization also carries the top. Without them, he can't shine, and without him, they can't shine. So I would make a counter offer of saying, let's give, instead of a 10%.
Yes, Tara?
I was just going to help you out with math because I was using my calculator while you were talking. The 10% raise is obviously 13.5. Is the 8% would be $10,800 raise, so that would be the 8%. So the 10,000 is just a little bit lower than 8%.
7.4.
All right.
Let me ask another question.
Yes.
Okay, when you all did this here comparison, did you all compare what is their operating expenses? I'm saying for that whole year. I'm just saying we got a salary, but we don't tell us what their budget is.
No, Board Member McCray, I didn't perform, nor did the Human Resource Department perform an analysis on acreage or overall budgets or what have you. That we wanted to, since we were calling these other CRAs, get information on all the positions within the agency, not just the director. It made no sense to request information on one person when we did the research that you had requested. My staff and I are a team, and I could not, and I know that they know that I could not do anything that I do without them. We work together. Tracy and I are coming up with ideas. The staff and I are coming up with ideas. And I can't imagine working anywhere else or with a finer group of people than I do. I trust them explicitly, and they have the community and their jobs in the best interest of that in their hearts, I know, professionally. Just to ease, if it's an easier evening for you, I certainly appreciate the very, very, very kind words professionally, and I don't want to put the board in a position of awkwardness and discussion. I certainly, if 8% is something that you are willing to accept, then I certainly would thank you and appreciate that.
Yes, Board Member Costello, and then Board Member Katz.
Michael, when we did the comparables, is our staff being compensated according to the surrounding CRA staffs?
Yes, sir. We're at kind of the just slightly under midpoint for everyone in the positions. That additional 2.5% that you had provided for them on the additional ICMA contribution, I think is another active attempt on your part to reach out. It was certainly on my part to try to find a way to compensate them without having to start changing percentages all over the place. And I know they were very, very, very thankful to you for entertaining that. But I believe next year we should do, I'm on the board of you know that I was just appointed to the board of the Florida Redevelopment Association for the upcoming year, and I'm looking forward to bringing up some issues that we learn about each time we go through this questioning of other agencies' salaries. It's always a very, very difficult thing to get. It's kept under lock and key, I suppose, and in some weird way, we respond so quickly. But regardless, we're at midpoint, and I think, however, we are clearly one of the leading agencies, I would say, in the state without trying to sound that way. I think it just is that way.
Okay.
So, Board Member Katz?
Make a motion to approve an 8% raise for the executive director for the current fiscal year, coming up fiscal year.
Can I ask that part of that motion be approval for the chair to execute an amendment to the contract along those lines?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, board. I really appreciate that.
Chairman.
Yes, you may.
I just want to make sure, I want to be clear, I didn't want you to think that I was being rude, I just wanted you to stop, because I know it's a very awkward position for you to be in, to kind of talk about your salary with us being up here in the light of the public. So I wanted you to just kind of like take you out of the moment of awkwardness for a second, just tell you, it's okay, we understand. I commend you, I commend the work that you're doing, and I know it's a sometimes uncomfortable position to be up here talking about your salary and stuff like that, but it's well worth it, and you're well deserved, and you are.
Thank you very much.
On to consideration of modifications to the Economic Development Grant Programs for fiscal year 2018-19.
Yes, Board. The CRA staff has met numerous times over the last month discussing the existing programs that we have, the success that we're having with them, the operating procedure of them, the applicant's procedure, what's been difficult for the applicant, what's been easy. And we've come up with the changes that are in front of you this evening and supported by several of our meetings, which was that the 4 grants for an exterior, interior build-out and permit, we tried to combine these exterior and interior grants into one program called the Commercial Exterior and Interior Build-Out Program, or the Commercial Improvement Program. This will provide an opportunity for the applicants to just give, again, one application for those multiple programs, all of which the same things are eligible. We did increase the eligibility for the roof. For whatever reason, for years, the roof has been something that I think we were afraid that would be the only thing someone would come in for. But we feel like when someone is putting that kind of effort into the exterior of their building, certainly the roof is generally the first thing that has to be repaired. So that was an additional item that we added to the description of items that are eligible. The other thing that we did, we just kept the commercial rent reimbursement grant program as was and as is. We're looking forward to another fantastic year of these grants. If there's anything that you see or would like to tweak, we're certainly here.
Yes, Vice Chair.
I'd like to ask clarification, since we didn't get a chance to talk, Mike, about why we decided on these specific businesses to establish the fitness centers, the kava tea bars, the tattoo shops, takeout establishments?
The discussion on the fitness centers, we went with a square footage that exceeds 5,000 square feet. So rather than, before we had none, we felt like everybody that wanted to open a gym might and would come, like the spas. You know, we didn't want to over incentivize or over assist one segment of the market. That hasn't been the case. And in looking at some of the larger spaces that we have being built, and an example might be something in the Winn-Dixie Shopping Plaza, for instance. If a LA Fitness, if a Gold's Gym or something of that 10,000, 15,000 square foot capacity wanted to come east, would that be a qualifying business? And I would certainly say yes, the jobs, the activity. So I thought if we reintroduce it, let's make it for something large, not a small space. So that would be the answer to that. The tattoo, piercing concept, you know, the kind of salon, barber, it's changed a lot over the years. It's not something, it's a lot more mainstream. It doesn't have a stigma to it, I think, that it used to. So I'm really just, we were looking at the list, and I'm putting these out because of the things. The T-bar would be more of that kind of coffee social house environment. That's really the three that we thought we were kind of on the fence, and we wanted to get your opinion on.
I'm still a little weary about tattoo shops. Explain to me what that means or what that entails, because I guess I probably still have a negative stigma.
I guess Board Member Katz, do you know?
I don't. I literally got a tattoo last Friday. So I think this discussion cropped up in Lake Worth, which to me was shocking because Lake Worth is, you know, they're like the subculture city, and they have a scene and a population that enjoys kind of that subculture, counterculture, and tattoos are a part of that. I think that if you took a survey of people aged 18 to 45 right now, you'd probably find out that at least half of them have a tattoo. So I don't personally view it in the negative light that it historically might have been viewed in. So it's a business like any other tax-paying business that has demand in the marketplace and opens and closes at the will of the free market. So I think that I don't know if there needs to be exclusions of businesses, because we as a board can sit up here and say, you know what, I don't want to give a grant out to another tattoo parlor. Is there any legal ramifications if we get to a point where we just say, if my personal opinion is I don't want to give a grant to this type of business, is that by definition some form of discrimination that do we have total discretion to approve and disapprove of businesses?
I wouldn't say you had total discretion. So if you had two equal parties coming before you with similar applications and similar requirements, and you said no to one, not based on some factor that would be relevant to the CRA, so it would either be, contributing to slum and blight or not contributing towards economic improvement, one of those. If you couldn't tie it to some of that, you could have problems. If you don't administer the plan and your standards fairly amongst all applicants, that could be an issue.
I'm sorry.
Is it fair to say if we got to a point in time where, businesses were applying for this in the future in Town Square and say, I don't have a problem with tattoo shops, but maybe we don't want them on Ocean Avenue necessarily. If my logic was, legitimate, that I think that this business should be in a different area, is that a valid reason to deny a grant to a potential business?
I think that it would be, if you were looking at your plan, because you are operating, this board operates to implement the CRA plan, which does call for certain types of uses in certain locations, and it was tied to that, then that's within this board's discretion.
It would also, board and a board member, Katz, any of the uses that are in our application all default to the rules and regulations in the land development regulations, planning and zoning, site plan. So anywhere that we haven't deviated from an acceptable use where an acceptable use is allowed. We haven't chosen something that the city doesn't already review, put restrictions on and requirements. I was going to suggest or ask if possibly could you limit, let's say the CRA, just to start out and opening up, we're not going to assist more than 2 a year or 3. Now you're not saying yes or no to the next guy. You've established in the program no more than 2 a fiscal year or no more than 5. Does that
Yeah.
help the situation slightly?
And there's no, on the question you're asking about the discrimination and that type of thing, there's not a clear black and white, and it would definitely be in the moment. But generally speaking, the program, the CRA has a lot of discretion to determine what funds it wants to, where it wants to put its funds to support its plan. And whether or not if you set that forth in your standards at the beginning, that makes it much easier to administer, if that's what you'd want to do. Other than, and I mean, the likelihood of that actually happening, so, 2 people coming in and asking for the same grant are probably pretty slim. And there would probably be significant differences, or could be significant differences between them that would justify the board giving one versus the other. But again, if they were similarly situated, it could be a problem if you didn't.
I mean, I think the easiest thing would be is to having a tier 3 businesses that are conditional to receive the economic development grants. Is that something that we could do?
Yes.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Similar to condition approval. That's great.
And the other thing is that it's also, can we make, based upon conditional existing versus new businesses? Because I know that we open up the economic development grants to the existing businesses in the CRA as well. Can we, limit those new tier 3s to existing businesses? For example, I know that we have multiple pawn shops in the CRA district, and, does it behoove us to help them do an exterior facade so that they look nicer along in the CRA district? And so I would like to recommend that we have a tier 3 that are conditional, like the tattoo or the coffee tea or the takeout foods, that, we won't, do it on an unreasonable basis, but they have to show us a reasonable basis to receive the grant.
And I would say just generally show consistency with your plan, which gives you a lot of discretion.
And we can, make it so that it is only one business from each category can receive the conditional tier 3 grant. So I think it was Casella, then McCray.
Yeah, and it goes to the line of question that I had. Could we, through an ordinance of some sort, say we only allow X amount of, cavity bars or tattoo shops or whatever? Can we limit the number in the CRA district? Is that something?
That would be a city issue, a city function. I think for this purpose, the chair's suggestion that we'll only provide one per type of tier 3 use.
Which would just about take care of that issue.
That would get at it for this purpose.
Right. Okay.
Board Member McCray?
Thank you. My take is that for takeout food establishments, I want that to remain in, because we're talking about, we're going to be doing things on MLK Boulevard, doing businesses, and I'm just saying it might be a takeout business that comes in, and I don't want them saying, you all took us out. I'm just saying, let's be fair.
You mean took out a takeout business?
Well, it says takeout. It says takeout food establishments. I want it to remain in takeout.
He means he's saying don't put that in tier 3.
Oh, you want
keep that as eligible.
They come in.
So you want that in it as tier 2?
Yes, that they would be able to get funds.
I'll concur with that. The tier 3 businesses that I'd like to see would be, the tattoo shops, body piercing, coffee tea bars, pawn, the liquor stores, because I'd like to see that, we're improving the CRA district. One of the other things that I'd also like to put in tier 3 are auto bodies or, auto storage places that we see in the heart of Boynton Beach. Because I don't want, to incentivize new auto bodies to come to the CRA district.
Is that a zoning issue that then comes into effect? We start putting auto bodies?
No, for this, the purpose of this grant is just to incentivize businesses within the district, and that has to be consistent with your plan. Your CRA plan does have zoning district recommendations, so these recommendations would be tied to those, but the actual decisions on zoning are all with the city, so those are made by the city, not this board. And so this discussion would not implicate whether a business could come into the district. That would be a separate discussion at the city. This is just whether to incentivize and fund those businesses.
Thank you, Chair.
Board Member Katz.
I have a question with regards to the request to increase the matching reimbursement limits. That's a direct result of the combination of the interior, exterior?
It is.
What are the current limits independently for interior and exterior?
A interior build-out for a restaurant was $45,000, and that's the Tier 1. That was the only type of an entity that could max that grant out. And the $25,000 would be the max on your commercial facade, so that's about 70. So it's only about a $15,000 increase, and in general, we don't see them maxing unless you have something like Banana Boat that spent $2 million and they are eligible for all of it. But the rent has really been something that I think Bonnie can speak to that too. We really have had just a lot of praise and congratulations for that from our recipients, really all the programs. But this will be a lot simpler by combining these. So again, if you want to tweak that amount, we can bring it back down.
So that's where I'm going with it. You know, we have, I think, $500,000 allocated for next year for the economic development grants. I think that as much as I wouldn't mind someone being able to reap 50 or 85,000, I think that, you know, at 50 and 85,000, you limit the amount of recipients hypothetically to a half dozen during the course of a fiscal year, you know, maybe a little bit more depending on how close they come to that gap, but I wouldn't mind seeing us lower those maximums to a level that would increase our ability to give it to more businesses. You know, in approving some of these grants over the past year or two up here, I would like to incentivize business development, but I don't want to subsidize it. You know, and I guess there's a fine line between the two. I wouldn't mind seeing the ability to stretch that money across more potential businesses, especially with the expanding development in basically all of downtown, including north and south of Boynton Beach Boulevard with regards to some of the development we're talking about tonight. I think we should, if we can't put more money into it, we should stretch more out of it. I don't think it's going to hurt a new business trying to develop and seeking grants if they got less than those maximums, because it's still free money. And I would hope that nobody's opening up a business that's contingent on, you know, an additional $10,000 grant, because they're probably not in the best fiscal shape if that's their plan A. So I wouldn't mind seeing those numbers reduced to expand the potential number of recipients.
Very good.
I don't know how anybody else feels.
No, I agree. You know, just, you know, because the rent reimbursement, we don't want to just give it to a business that's already been in here, because it's just giving them the extra revenue. So, you know, if there's an existing business that they have to tie it into the interior, exterior facades.
Well, with regard to the rent, you have to double your size, or be a new business coming into the area. So of the suggestion, I would tweak the 85 and the 50 and the rent, as rents begin to, some of our recipients are in the $2,500 to $3,000, $3,500, $5,000 rent a month. So $1,200 or $1,500 isn't. It's a nice assistance, but it's not the majority of it. And remember, it's a maximum, so it's never more than half, and it's never more than the 17. But I completely support trying to spread that out, board member. If you want suggestions on where to drop those, I'm happy to give them. I'll just wait for your direction.
Board Member McRae.
Thank you. Michael, out of all the businesses that we have incentivized here in the city, how many have went belly up?
Have to get us that answer later.
There's only one that went belly up, and that was an ice cream parlor where Marina Bites is in about 2009. And the gym at Casa Costa, which was a fabulous cross-fitness establishment, but because of the design of the building, the sound of the turning tires and the type of workout they were doing, believe it or not, Casa Costa paid them to leave, in a way to leave. They didn't penalize them. They tried to move them to another site. We just don't have that happen. Little House, I would say, would be one. So of so many.
All right, so there's 3.
We don't have that many.
Not very many, no.
That's
A
what I
small
need to hear.
percentage,
All right,
1%.
small percent. Okay.
Vice Chair? Can you speak into the microphone, please?
Sure. Yes, I would definitely go with and concur with Commissioner Katz's comments. That was the second thing I was going to bring up after my initial line of questioning. I would like to leave the pot probably where it is, or maybe just move it only just slightly up, because I still want to make sure we can help as many the funds that we gave last year, especially for this year. So I want to make sure that we can still reach out to more about the fitness centers. If we are creating the type of demand that would attract a LA Fitness or something like that, I feel like that kind of goes, to use my colleagues' words, to the side of subsidizing rather than incentivizing. Do we need to pay an LA Fitness to come here? I think they would probably want to come here on their own merit. So I'm not really sure how I feel about incentivizing a big gym to come here. I think if they're going to come here, they're going to come here anyway. I want to keep this for small businesses who actually want to be here and who potentially would need the help. I don't think an LA Fitness needs help to be here. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe other people disagree, but I would like to see these funds used for the purpose of being for small businesses, small ownership, and to create jobs in our local economy here.
Board Member Katz.
In going off what Board Member Ramos just said, is there currently, or can we impose a cap on eligibility, or can we impose a restriction on eligibility for businesses above a certain value? So like you said, or like she said, I'm inclined to agree that if a name brand business comes here, I don't think they're hinging their decision on this grant, but they certainly will take advantage of it and try to defray some of their costs. So is there a way to limit the eligibility to a certain dollar value, either of the facility or shop, or if it's, again, like a name brand place, is there a way to restrict eligibility to non, corporations that are over 50 million or 100, like some way to restrict this to small businesses or independent businesses versus the potential for, a Subway to move in, and now a Subway restaurant wants a facade grant or something crazy like that?
We can. Tsunami Subs, Primo Subs, those places that were small businesses we assisted, and I know that they're kind of a national brand, but it was a small business that opened with local people that were trying to establish. I'm sure that you could find a way to narrow down a limit of the size of the national brand, if at all. You certainly can direct your assistance toward a certain amount of, we want a lot of employees. We want businesses. Banana Boat invested over $2 million in their renovation, and they've got $60,000 from us. So I think that because we're only a 50% grant, a business, Sunshine Square, $10 million renovation, $6 million renovation, they got the $60,000 from us. It didn't make or break them, but it was something that another city might not have had. But if you would like us to come back with you and bring back some type of a cap or a size or a, gross profits or gross business type thing.
Right, and I hear what you're saying, but I want to use your same examples. Banana Boat is a local entity. It's not a national or international franchise.
Right.
That they have millions of dollars, which isn't a bad thing. That's a great thing,
Right.
And I don't mind helping them because they're a local entity that employs locally. That it brings a nice recognition here to our local environment. Same thing with Sunshine Square. I don't know who owns Sunshine Square. Who owns Sunshine Square, by the way?
It's Eden's. It's a real estate, just like Brock, like Riverwalk's project, similar real estate.
Same again. I think if you kind of just step back from the picture, I think what myself and Board Member Katz are trying to say is I wouldn't want to incentivize not to throw names out, but an LA Fitness or a
National
Subway, something that clearly doesn't need help from an entity like us, but would take it because it's on the table. We want to make sure we guide our dollars to where they're needed. That's what I would want to stand behind, and that's what I would support. So if we can craft the language around that allows for, it doesn't necessarily have to be a numeric number where, like, you know, because how would we, I don't know if we would necessarily ask for all of their, numbers of what earnings they have, but perhaps just the entity, the ownership or whatever, and that would be the thing that guides us of whether we or not we feel that they need our assistance.
I think you're on the right track with the
Well,
national, sorry.
I disagree, because we are limited to the amount of grants that we have. Any business that comes here, you know, is probably going to try to employ locally, that our local residents are going to support. You know, the fact that, let's say it wasn't Banana Boat, it was an Outback Steakhouse that moved in, or Joe's Crab Shack on the water. You know, for them to get the $60,000 versus, doesn't seem to be out of line with what we're trying to do in the community redevelopment area. So I disagree in the sense of just trying to not have national chains here is not a good thing. Board Member Casella.
Some of these national chains, such as, let's use Subways, that's usually opened up as an individual franchise. It's an individual trying to, using just a brand name to open it. So it's not like Subway comes in as a big corporation and takes over.
Generally not, no.
No. So it's an individual.
Right, I think we've lost sight of what I'm trying to say. I'm simply saying that, let's go back to the original example of LA Fitness. I'm saying something like that. So yes, Subway would be a franchise, that would be an individual franchise owner. Sure, we can help if that's what this board decides to go with, but I'm saying in terms of entities like large corporation operations that don't necessarily need assistance from a local entity like us, I would like for us to craft language that allows for us to not have to give money where it's not needed. I would prefer to redirect those funds to individuals who are who live here, who play here, who send their children here, who pay taxes here, who can also be supported by the local economy here.
All right. Board Member Katz.
Yeah, I'm willing to support as is with regards to the nature of the businesses, with the desire moving forward for the future to thread the needle to find what myself and Board Member Romulus are saying, where we're not trying to exclude a Primo Sub, which is a chain up north, but independently franchised down here. But there's some way to thread the needle to get the nature of what we're talking about, where a company that starts a business and, spends millions of dollars is different from a company, a mom and pop place that spends $200,000 or $300,000, and that 60 grand could literally buy them an extra year of operation before they get their business fully going. So, I won't press the issue just because we just kind of brought it up on the fly, but I do think that's the direction I'd like to see it go, where we don't discourage bigger businesses, but we certainly start to lean in the direction of incentivizing the smaller ones, I would say disproportionately.
So, I don't know where we are right now in the sense of the economic development grants.
You have you have suggested as a group that there would be a potential Tier 3 with conditional approval needed, which included kava, tea, bars, tattoo, or body piercing salons, let's say pawn shops, and to include also auto body or auto storage. And the discussion of dropping each of these grants, the Tier 1 and the Tier 2, a dollar amount hasn't been discussed, but I certainly would throw out $50,000 to the Tier 1 and like a 25 or 30 to the Tier 2. That would get you more additional potential to help other people, and we can, as we get going through the year, that can always be tweaked. But that's where you are now. No adjustment to the amount has been made.
All right, and I think it's regarding the huge national chains based upon the amount that we're given. We'll see if they come through and then make a decision after that. The other two things that I'd like to talk about, one is I know that we have it at 50% of the cost for a roof. I would just like to say that the roof can only receive 50% of the grant available. So instead of, let's say that the roof costs $50,000 and they're putting in $49,000 worth of exterior, I would want them to say that you only get $12,500 for if it was the tier 2 for the roof, and then 12,500 for the other, so that they're not disqualified because the roof is more than 50% of the total project. So that if someone is just redoing their roof, they get half the amount of the grant available. Is that okay with the board? I'm not seeing a no. And the last thing I went and spoke with CareerSource about having a orientation or training period grant so that certain businesses would be able to hire somebody and receive 50% funding for that hiree. I think it's something that is worthwhile to look into, but we need more information from the CRA staff to approve that as one of the economic development grants. Yes.
It is within your discretion to deal with the issue that you were talking about before, to say something along the lines of discretion or priority will be given to smaller local businesses, or whatever staff advises you is the appropriate language there, which would allow you on a case-by-case basis to determine if an entity in front of you was the type of entity that you would want to incentivize in your community. So if it was a small local franchise owner of a big national franchise that you wanted to incentivize, you would be able to do it under a preference like that if you use language similar like that, which would give you more flexibility on a case-by-case basis if that's something that would be more palatable.
Board Member Katz?
Would that be something that we could exercise at any point during the fiscal year, or only when we're kind of put to a final decision, say there was only 50 grand left and they had two applicants before us, like if there's 500,000 in there and there's a big business that we say, look, they're going to build no matter what, we would rather save this, can we say it at any point in time, or does it have to be that?
We've used priority given at other times in other agencies, yeah.
So
Priority is given to a local franchisee versus a non-local franchisee.
So I could literally say, even if there was enough grant monies left and two applicants came before us, and one was kind of clearly this kind of local or smaller business, and one was clearly a larger business that's going to do what they're going to open no matter what, and we don't want to, I could, even with 500,000 in there, I could say, look, my desire is to stick to giving preference to smaller size businesses, et cetera, and even with 500 grand, we could potentially say no thank you right now to them? Or would it have to be at the end of the pot where we're making a final decision?
It would not have to be at the end of the pot if you put
Okay.
in. And like I said, the priority given can be whatever you as a board determine is the appropriate priority, if it's size, if it's number of jobs, whatever you want to put in there, or a combination thereof. So I could say small businesses, or smaller locally owned businesses, or businesses bringing substantial employment. So you'd have flexibility if some big national company came in that you really did want to incentivize and you wanted to give them. So you could just allow yourself some flexibility on a case-by-case basis.
I like that.
So would we be able to see draft language be brought before us next meeting? Okay, I'd like to see that. And I would also concur with the numbers that you threw out there, Mike, of the 50,000 for the tier 1. And I would like to remain 20 for.
All right. Is everyone okay with what has been announced? All right.
Second that.
And Terry, is there anything else you need us in the motion?
Good.
All right. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Good discussion, thank you.
And I guess you'll come back next month with the language. Moving on to consideration of resolution number 18-02, adopting the CRA budget for fiscal year 2018-19.
Good evening, Board Chair, Vice Chair, and Board members. I am the CRA Finance Director, Vicki Hill. Before you, we have the budget. The only thing that we have on here that is different from last month are the rollovers. So with direction from you, would you like to know what the rollovers are or what the final budget will be, pending your approval?
Are you saying there's additional monies that we did not allocate last time we discussed this?
There are additional monies, the rollovers that we already had from 17-18, they're just going to roll into 18-19.
That's the column all the way to the right?
Yes, sir. The column all the way to the left are the rollovers. The column all the way to the right is what the final number is.
So for instance, in our previous meetings, you'll see in the column 1, the $1.2 million we've been referring to and discussing that it's there, but you haven't seen that number because it was something you weren't going to be reallocating. Now, for the official budget approval, we're showing you the other numbers that will push forward to give a final number for the budget. Is that a good?
Yes.
We'd already discussed what rollovers we had anticipated on keeping previously, correct?
We did the rollovers that were reallocated. We did talk about those. But these are the rollovers that are final. For instance, like Mike said, the MLK corridor, that we already had 1.2 million, and we added 400,000 to it. Now it is 1.6.
I would offer a motion to approve the budget with the rollovers as described. I think we went through this 2 times and discussed pushing those rollovers, so I think that for lack of desire to go through and re-scrutinize what I feel like we might have already done, I would support the right-hand column, total project fund allocations, including rollovers as described in previous meetings.
Second.
And so I think we got the updated business promotional events budget. Is that correct? Did that change at all?
She had $20,000 in rollovers, so it did change to 539,000, but I also added in the 10,000 for the Marina Dive tournament event. That is also under promotional events, so, which equals $549,000.
Okay, so that's why the numbers are different. And so are we not doing a holiday tree lighting this year?
It is not an event that we are doing this year.
Do we know if the city is doing one?
The city just notified us as staff today that there's going to be a holiday parade, but in all of the staff discussions during budget, the tree lighting or some sort of thing thereof was not something that was supported by the city.
If we want to, as a CRA, is that something we could do? As part of one of the concerts?
Just to go back to some of our earlier discussions at the end of the season, that was one that we didn't feel fell as closely related to economic development as others that we have created or continue to do. So I would look to the city, if there's some way, shape, or form that they can put together. Maybe it's extra lighting in one of the banyan trees. I would recommend not.
I'm not, lights come pretty cheap. It's, the question of the manpower of getting on a ladder and stringing them up. If we could, I understand that we have some development of future project money. I'd like to put in a little bit extra for the December 2018 Rock the Plaza event to have a possible tree with lights there.
What's the location on that?
Wherever it is. There's the 3 options of Sunshine Square, One Boynton, or Ocean Palm Plaza. And it's, all of them have trees, and they have electrical outlets nearby, and so that's kind of where I'd like to see that tradition not go away, but not necessarily spend the $70,000 to have a little tree lighting. Is that okay for an extra $5,000 to go to that December 2018 event?
What'll that $5,000 do?
It's up to the CRA staff to, I guess, find the lights. It may be not find the lights and have that plugged in and pay for the electricity for the plaza owner is kind of what I'm looking at.
Is there a way potentially to, what time does the the boat parade, or what date does the boat parade tentatively expect to be on this year?
December 14th.
Is there a way to try to incorporate some form of tree lighting at the marina in conjunction with the boat parade potentially, so that we maximize our
And so we
resources?
can use the trees that we planted?
I would recommend that you've given us direction, you'd like to incorporate this somehow. I would
Yeah.
still move with the budget. We have enough funding to do what you're talking about doing, and we'll bring you back those options for your approval. But I don't think it's something that has to be identified specifically for the budget approval tonight. It's an additional direction that you're giving us with regard to our existing events that you'll be approving, so I think that's fine, unless Tara has other suggestions.
No, I would recommend that if, you can go back and if a budget amendment is necessary at that
Okay.
time, but I don't think it will be.
So, yeah, I'd like to, with the budget, motion for the budget approved with the direction for a tree lighting to be available at the holiday boat parade on the CRA land and the marina.
And if I may clarify, the motion on the table is to approve resolution, CRA resolution number R18-02, a resolution of the Boynton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency adopting a budget for the fiscal year October 1, 2018 to September 30th, 2019, and providing for an effective date as attached as Exhibit A, which is the budget before you that's been presented to you tonight.
Okay. Board Member Castillo.
Yeah, Michael, we've talked about this holiday boat parade in the past. Are we sharing that cost with any other cities?
Yes, sir. Delray is matching us for all of the marketing and expenses related to the joint effort, and each city is taking care of the expenses on their own site. So all of the I think it's about $3,000 or $4,000. They gave it $3,200, I think they gave us last year. Our overall marketing was around $5,000. It worked out to, we did get contribution last year from them in a joint effort, as we are getting this year.
And I also like that idea of a tree lighting at the boat parade. I think the whole idea of a tree lighting, it's always been, since I've been here in Boynton Beach, most successful, like right after the holiday parade, where we have a large number of people there and we do the countdown and everything, versus a separate day for it. So I think it's a great idea.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair,
I may have missed this, but
into the microphone, please.
the $100,000 under contingency that's rolling over, what is that?
We just have $100,000 contingency just in case something happens. Like if the hurricane comes, we have $100,000 there. It's been rolling over.
Okay, and we just keep rolling over?
Yes, ma'am.
Just clarifying, thank you.
Board Member Katz.
Just I don't know if you have the answer for this. Are there restrictions if we were to try to do something with regards to the bridge? Like if we were to try to do something in terms of lighting up the Ocean Avenue Bridge, or, are there marine-based guidelines that we have to adhere to? Okay.
There's a lot of different agencies involved.
DOT for one.
And, it's Intracoastal is dealing with the federal, so you might have to do
Wishful thinking.
But we have
Army Corps of
discussed in the
Engineers,
past,
yeah.
in the city as well.
I'm going to string illegal lights on that bridge.
Decorating the light poles or something.
All right, but we do have a motion on the table. Was that second?
Yes.
All right, any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to consideration of responses to a RFP/RFQ for redevelopment of CRA-owned properties within the MLK Junior Boulevard corridor. Do we have someone who wants to go first?
Staff's recommending the order as it's submitted, which is Maywood Renaissance, Inc. Will be first, and then Centennial Management will be second. So we ask Centennial, out of professional courtesy, if they can wait outside in the lobby.
I hear it, but, okay.
Yeah, they can hear it, but still, it's just...
All right. Do I need a motion to approve the way we're ranking it, or is that part of the RFQ?
Just to give it, just as a point of order tonight,
Yeah.
so after the presentations, staff can do a summary of their analysis that they've done for you, which is the intention. You may deliberate and choose the appropriate respondent based on the best interest of the CRA. That means you can go forward with the recommendation of staff, change the recommendation of staff, or do your own ranking. I think you've been provided a sheet to do your own ranking if that's the will of the board to deliberate in that way. It's not required, so you will have freedom to discuss and deliberate on the appropriate respondent after their presentations and staff's presentation.
Will we have to have approval of the ranking afterwards?
No,
We do not.
you do not. You will discuss the staff has made a recommendation, and they have done a ranking pursuant to the RFP scoring criteria. You have that before you. You can acknowledge that and then make a determination based on it for the respondent you feel is in the best interest of the CRA.
So we have the option of ranking ourselves and tallying our own rankings and making a decision off of that.
Yes, you can do it that way. So you could analyze the respondents through the criteria that were in the RFP, yourselves individually with your scoring sheets, or base a discussion on the selection committee's analysis.
Okay. Does the board understand? Yep, Board Member Katz.
Yeah, I've got opinions about this, but I don't want to state them prior to the presentation because I don't want to state them prior to the presentations, but I've got opinions regarding the evaluation, so I'll hold them back till after the presentations, but I've got opinion.
Board Member McCray? All right. Let's begin.
Do you want to set any type of time limit, board, or have you? We did a 5-minute.
We have 15-minute presentations with the availability of questions to go over that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, CRA Board Chairman and board members. I'm Michael Pico with Neighborhood Renaissance. I'm the Real Estate Development Director for them. Thank you for the opportunity to present our proposal for the development of the MLK corridor. Neighborhood Renaissance was established in 1992 as a nonprofit development corporation dedicated to building strong economies and diverse communities. We have not been a party of litigation in the last 5 years, as we had stated in our Cottage District proposal. Evidently, we have, that page got lost between the copying machine and putting it into the binders. Since 2012, Neighborhood Renaissance and its current staff have developed several commercial and residential projects ranging from $2 million to $12.7 million. Is it working? Okay. Currently in Lake Worth, we're partnering with the CRA of Lake Worth, completing the construction of the West Village Art Lofts. It's a community of 8 townhomes for sale to artistic and creative households. 4 of these townhomes are affordable to low-income households through the Purchase Assistance Program that we were awarded from the county last year. Also included is a 2,000 square foot commercial building we are offering at an affordable rent to attract and establish new innovative businesses in the West Village of Lake Worth. In August, we started construction of Mango Cove, which is the project on the right, a 36-unit apartment community on Florida Mango Road just north of Forest Hill Boulevard, which will be ready for occupancy in 2019. The rents will be below market and affordable to households that earn less than 120% of the area median income. Our partner on this one is the County of Palm Beach. With me tonight is our Executive Director, Terry Murray, and Carlos Toledo is our project manager and operator of the PowerPoint. Carlos has successfully developed 3 large apartment projects using Florida Housing Finance funding in the last 10 years. Not here is our property manager, Karen Knowles, whose experience spans from tax credit projects to market apartment communities. Our community partner tonight is Katura Joseph of the Boynton Beach Faith-Based Community Development Corporation, and our architect, Julio Montanez Fontaner of Southeast Architectural Services. Our executive team has over 90 years of experience in all aspects of commercial and residential development. Our proposal is a comprehensive approach to redevelop the Martin Luther King corridor and includes three components: affordable rents, attractive commercial and retail uses, and home ownership. Our proposal includes, in the green, a commercial retail building on the CRA's north parcel that will provide economic growth opportunities to local entrepreneurs and business owners, as well as needed goods and services to the existing and new residents of the heart of Boynton. And the red is an apartment complex that'll be affordable to households that earn 60% or less of the area median income. And if you can see the blue bubble to the right, where mostly you see aerial. Okay, the pointer's working. We have a mix of home ownership, single family and townhome, and in the orange, just south of the retail and next to the apartment complex, are 6 live-work lofts for sale. Our plan is to develop all 3 components at the same time for maximum impact. The effort is very similar to the one we take when we do model block programs in the past. The cost of this development is over $27 million. To accomplish this plan, we're asking the CRA for an investment of land, lump sum contributions, loans, and annual tax increment funding. The commercial building and plaza looks like it needs an investment of approximately $1.6 million. The apartment complex, which is around 80 units to 100 units, would have a variable investment depending on whether or not we're successful receiving Florida Housing Finance funding, whether in the sale round in November, as low as $2.8 million and as much as $6.8 million if we don't, if we're unsuccessful at Florida Housing Finance. The construction of the 10 homes and townhomes will require purchase assistance to the buyers of approximately $34,000 each. This is a large commitment, but we think if the entire program is implemented, it'll be a catalyst for future private investment in the corridor and in the heart of Boynton. The CRA and the community's return on its investment yields many economic and community benefits. And this is our overall site plan. In more detail, you have it in your package showing the building sizes and the parking layout. The apartment development, new slide, in the red, and the parking lots behind it, is planned for 80 to 100 units, depending upon what funding sources are being used. It's a maximum of 4 stories. The parking is hidden from the public street and sidewalk behind the building, and the building's set back from the property line in order to accommodate, actually it's both that and the commercial building are set back to accommodate wider sidewalks, canopy trees, landscaping, street parking, and new street lighting. The apartment complex would be completed, we're planning on, in November of 2021. Our proposal requires acquiring private property, but the price has not been revealed in our public proposal, as we think it's a private negotiation. It is and was included in our other costs in the project development cost pro forma. We've had conversations with the owner, and we know what his desired terms of sale are. If selected, our plan is to enter into negotiations, if selected to negotiate, is enter into negotiations with the private owner during the due diligence period, estimated to be 60 days, to have a purchase contract in place so we can make an application for the Florida Housing Finance sale application in November. Our financing strategies include, first priority would be making the sale application November 27th, 2018 for approximately $6.2 million of sale funds to be used with 4% tax credits and bonds. If we are unsuccessful, a fallback plan would be to use the CRA tax increment revenues in the amount of $625,000 per year with 4% tax credits and bonds. And the other alternative, which is the best one for everybody, would require probably no contribution except land from the CRA, is to wait 1 year for the next round of 9% tax credits. The current one is due October 25th, I believe, of this year, so we'll miss that. In all cases, we'll pursue other financing and subsidy sources, including the impact fee finance program that the county has for affordable housing each year. The commercial development on the left is the first phase, which includes a 4,400 square foot retail building and a public plaza, which is in green to the east. The parking is behind. The plaza would be used for farmers and crafts markets and entertainment venues or events during the year. We would hope to be able to attract people from the heart of Boynton and outside the heart of Boynton to introduce them to what it has to offer. The retail building in phase one includes 3 to 4 micro retail units, which are as small as 250 square feet, and they can be leased for a period as short as 1 week and probably up to 6 months, giving the opportunity for startups and entrepreneurs to test their concepts. We see them being leased by craftsmen, artisans, inventors to test their concepts, as well as small, like smoothie, ice cream, or bakery shops. The subsidy helps us offer the retail space at an average of $1.25 per square foot per month, which we think is affordable compared to what other retail spaces in the city. Completion of this phase one could be done by June 2020. Our financing strategy is the rents will support a $300,000 first mortgage, a CRA contribution of $1.2 million, a 20-year loan from the CRA of $400,000, and a tax increment funding for 15 years at $12,000 per year. An alternative is something created with the new tax law, which is called an Opportunity Zone Fund, which provides equity and loans at the ones we've been working with, a blended rate of 3.2%. So that brings down the cost of financing significantly from the pro forma 5.5%. Home ownership includes 6 live-work townhomes, which are adjacent to the apartment complex and across the street from the retail plaza, and up to 4 townhomes or single-family homes on the balance of the block. They'd be offered for sale to owner occupants at a price of $180,000 to $220,000, which is affordable to households earning less than 120% of the area median income. That would require a subsidy of approximately $34,000 per unit on average, but we've had a good track record on our home ownership projects of obtaining federal, county, and local funds for down payment assistance for the buyers. The completion times would be at various points. They wouldn't be all built at once. We'll be working with the Boynton Beach faith-based CDC for for community input during site planning and building design, resident services, meeting space needs, as well. The CDC will also implement our local hiring and procurement program with the aim to use local workers and businesses in the construction and operation of the project to the extent possible. Summary of the benefits to the city and the neighborhood is an increase in the real estate tax basis by an investment of $27 million. We've increased the availability and diversity of affordable housing in the area. We want to create a homeownership market in and around the MLK corridor. The new community serving uses would be valuable, including the retail, commercial, and office space that we're providing. Economic development by bringing jobs during construction and permanent jobs during the operation and employment of the retail commercial stores, as well as in the management and maintenance areas of the rental apartment complex. We figured we'd be creating approximately 100 new affordable residences or dwellings and add approximately 130 new residents to the heart of Boynton to support the shops and other commercial activities in the heart of Boynton. And that's the end of our presentation. And I'll open it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Board? Yeah? Yes, we are.
My first question would be, sir, if we award this to you, when will you all go out and meet with the community to find out their input, to see what they really want?
We would work with the CDC, and we've been in Boynton before making presentations with the coalition of clergy, as well as the neighborhood groups, to meet with them and go over our plans. As you can see, we have conceptual elevations, we have conceptual numbers, heights of our buildings, as well as, what do they really want to see as commercial development in the heart of Boynton.
Hey, sir, let me say it another way. You really didn't answer my question. You said you're going to give it to the CDC. All right, if we award this bid to you, how fast will you go out and meet with these individuals? Would it be a month, 2 months? I'm just saying, are you going to leave everything up?
We've been trying to meet this week and the week before, but everybody's been out of town. As soon as we start negotiation or get selected, we would start meeting with them in order to start preparing our plans for site plan approval, city approvals, and things like that.
Next question, sir, for you is, who will be responsible for the advertisement, of saying that this meeting is going to take place? Because I don't want somebody to say that we was given the bid and given the project and then saying that, I don't want it to fall anywhere if we give it to you saying that I forgot to advertise. Who's responsible for the advertising of when these meetings would take place?
We would be responsible, and with the assistance of the local CDC, our local partner, we would take full responsibility.
Okay. Thank you.
Board Member Castillo?
Yeah, sir, could you just go over your financing plan, how you're going to finance this?
Which component? All of it?
You had about 3 or 4 different ways. Yeah, it was very confusing to me.
Okay. Let me try.
Give me your best scenario here and your worst scenario.
Okay.
How's that? What are you looking from the CRA? Land and cash, correct?
Okay. For the retail component, it's approximately a $2 million construction for a 4,400 square foot building. At the affordable rents, we would need, the rents would support a first mortgage of $300,000. In addition, because we need to make up $2 million, $1.2 million of CRA contribution, $400,000 of a loan for 20 years. It would be repaid in 20 years to the CRA. and the TIF created by the project is $12,000 a year. We'd ask for that for 15 years to help get the project stabilized, and hopefully rents will catch up to the market.
Okay, so just let me read it. So you look 1.2 million cash, you look for a $400,000 loan from us, and a $12,000 a year TIF?
Per year, yeah.
TIF.
The
Plus the land?
Plus the land?
Plus the land, yeah.
Plus land. Okay. And how successful have you been in before? We've all been dealing with tax credits up here, that lottery, the sale, the whole 9 yards. Not very successful. What's your success rate with that?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to throw it to Carlos, because he's been doing this for 20 years, and almost that much time in Florida, but it's a lottery, you know, you've been through it.
Yeah, the 9% tax credit process is extremely competitive, and you know they sort of changed the rules annually. I've been able to get a few projects over the last 10 years working with a nonprofit in Miami, and you know, sometimes it took years to get a project done. It's very competitive. You have to hit all the benchmarks. You have to, score all the points. And in this case, you have to get the local government contribution, which is usually about $600,000. And then you're competing against, other municipalities and the county. So you're probably going to have, 5-6 competing applications. So, it's difficult, but...
Just for the record, the last one we just went through, Ocean Breeze East, there was 34 applicants in it. So it's not 5 or 6.
Well,
and then after they won, they had to go to court to verify.
Right. There was, 34 within the 6 large county.
Right.
I was talking just about the Palm Beach County, because for each county there's a certain amount, but that's correct. And and you had to give them almost $600,000 as the local government match. But it's very competitive.
So can I add that we see that there's 3 different opportunities during, say, a 12-month period. You have the 9%. You have the sale, which is due November 27th of this year. That gives, that's not as competitive as the 9%, right? And then there's one other one that probably is competitive because so far only one's been given per year in the state, which applies to redevelopment agency areas and other places that have redevelopment plans. So there are 3, and let's say the 4th one is we try and go it on our own with the CRA as our partner, and the CRA tries to fund it if they really want something built there now.
Thank you.
Board Member Katz?
I know it's a big number, it hurts.
So to what Board Member Costello had asked, so you rattled off the numbers, the 1.2, the $400,000 loan, the $12K over 15 years annually, and the land. That was, he'd asked for the kind of best and worst case scenario. Was that the worst case scenario, assuming no...
Oh, on the commercial?
That was just the commercial, not any of the residential?
Just the commercial.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you applied for the 9%, would that pertain to just the commercial, or would that apply to the whole project?
No, that was the commercial. Things could go better. Our costs could come in lower. We could get better rents, something like that. But then you move on to the apartment development, which is an 80 to 100 unit. It's a big project, almost $20 million construction.
So I think for my benefit, and maybe others I know in the past, when we've done some RFPs, the total financial breakdown for the various proposals or potential options for each applicant was kind of spelled out in great detail, to the effect that it said, if 9%, the CRA would have to pay XYZ if 4%, if no tax credits. Not to foreshadow asking for some sort of delay on the decision here, but is this something that CRA staff could put together for the two applicants for us to have that breakdown? So, because I know my question akin to what Board Member Casello's really is I can look at the projects and I've reviewed the materials, but to see a side-by-side comparison of all financial implications of the potential outcomes of those credits versus no credits would be greatly beneficial, including commercial and residential versus just independent, because I know that right now, as it stands, just based on the numbers thrown out for the commercial, I assume there will be equal or greater numbers as far as help for the residential if it's 100+ units. I think it might be beneficial if we had that spreadsheet covering all options and the total implications for the CRA as far as investment.
Okay. Well, I might have most of the parameters, in that if we did get the $6.2 million from the state for the sale round, the request to make up the gap would be $200,000 a year, say $2.8 million is the present value. And without any help from the state, Florida Housing and Finance, the gap is $6.8 million, which is essentially what the sale would have provided.
Because that's what, at least for me, in recent RFPs that we put out and subsequently accepted, and that's why we requested the multiple avenues potentially, the various tax credits and then nothing where the CRA does all the lifting. I think that in accepting any of these now to try to move these projects forward should tax credits fail, I like the idea of what we did for Ocean Breeze East, which was if tax credits fail, then we're agreeing up front to fund to a certain level, so we know that even if the tax credits fail, the project will move forward, thereafter. I think at least for me, I'd need to see each of those scenarios spelled out and then the total potential liability for the CRA, I guess is what
If I could add, that's comparing an 80-unit project to an 80-unit project. Obviously, if it was a smaller project without state assistance, tax credit assistance, say 60 or 50, maybe less expensive to construct. There's less units, less subsidy needed, but what does the community really want as far as impact or magnitude of housing there? You could probably go build a whole bunch of single-family homes, but that's not what is needed there. Yes.
The value of the land that we currently own on MLK, do you have an idea what that's appraised at or what it's worth?
I can get that for you.
Okay. We just approved the budget. We got $1.6 million to invest in that corridor, correct?
Have 1.6 million.
Million, plus whatever that land value comes out to.
Correct.
Okay.
As a value.
We did figure out what the tax appraiser's market value of the lots were. It's around $800,000.
One of the things that I saw is that you didn't include the area east of Northeast, that was on Northeast 9th Avenue and Northeast 3rd Street. That's the vacant lot that the CRA has.
By the railroad tracks?
It's by the railroad tracks. It basically is where you cut it off. That is, I think we put in our budget that is still part of the MLK corridor. So it's hidden in that picture. It's hidden behind that picture. So it's on the south, it's on Northeast 9th Avenue.
Okay.
So I think
What
one
we
of your...
saw there was it's zoned commercial, I believe,
Yes.
and the community caring center is going to build a facility there?
There, it is still up in the air.
Okay.
And so that is not something that we have. Is that something that, you'd be willing to work with the Community Caring Center to help be a part of this MLK corridor?
Yeah, absolutely. As far as community economic development, there's a lot of opportunities in working with, say, a homeless organization who tries to get people up on their feet and get them jobs and training.
The also is that they're trying to do the culinary incubator and having a little cafe. One of the other things that I forgot to mention to the board is that, I've been speaking with a couple of the community in Palm Beach County and Boynton Beach about moving the Boynton Beach, the Historical Women's Club of Boynton Beach to this MLK corridor. Currently, that facility has 22 parking spaces, which is not enough for, I think, it as an event. And where that commercial and retail is, it would be a perfect fit for maybe a possible Grandview market. That is something that I think, maybe we discuss. I know Commissioner McCrae's shaking his head, but it is something that I think would revitalize that area, and having that facility in the MLK area is kind of breaking down a lot of barriers that a historically white building is in a historically black neighborhood. I don't know what the rest of you think about that, but is that something that you'd be willing to do if we have that option available?
In our proposal of uses for the commercial building, and granted it's not that big, for 4,400 square feet, and there's a building code reason for that and money, but we would definitely make it available, if they can pay the rent, for community service organizations and something like that.
The reason why I mentioned that is that I have been to the Grandview market, and it was with the CRA investment there that they've revitalized that area. The problem is that I don't think, unless you have restaurants and have commercial activities that are drawing people there on a regular basis, that we are going to actually change it. I don't think the small retail locations for entrepreneurs are really going to do it. I think we need to have the bigger facilities for a grocery store that the community's been asking for a long time. Maybe a different retail chain store, or a larger consignment shop. And so that is kind of where I'm looking to do with the MLK corridor and finding the partner. Yes, Commissioner McCrae.
Thank you. First of all, I'm not going to sit up here and say that, we want to get the women's club over on MLK Boulevard. That's a no-no. First of all, if we wanted to get anything and keep anything, we would have kept our old high school that we had over there, and that would have been instead of tearing it down, giving us points to enter. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not in favor of it. I cannot speak for the community, but as a representative, we don't want to move anything from anywhere to bring it over. It feels like we've been stepchildren, like we've been given things that, nobody else want. That women's club all of my life, because I'm still living, has been located there, and that's where it needs to be. But I'm going to go back to you, sir, and that is that I'm on the same basis as Board Member Katz. I need to see analysis. I need to see, because you gave us a lot of what ifs. If this happens, if we get this, if. It's too many ifs for me. I need to see things on paper saying, if this fails, this is what you all will have to do. If we get this, this is what, right now, a lot of jargon is coming at us. And I don't have anything that I can sit down here and say, if this fails, this is what we have to do. I can't obligate the CRA saying that, we're going to go ahead and say we're going to give you the project. And I don't know anything about all these what ifs, sir. I'm just saying I feel better if you go back and give us, a breakdown. Because you gave us a lot of what ifs. And if this happens, if you get this type credit, if you can get with the county, if you can get with the state, there's too many ifs for me.
Are there any other questions from the board? Seeing none? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Am I waiting for you, or are you waiting for me?
I'm waiting for you. Yes,
Okay.
you may begin if you're ready.
Great. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Paul Boynton with Centennial Management, and I'm here with Elizabeth Roque and Brian Jaffe and Louis Weezy, the owner of Centennial Management. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come back here and present to you our vision for Las Brisas Estates right there in the heart of Boynton on MLK, just off of Seacrest. Let's see. Side. Okay, you are familiar with Centennial Management. We have been in the affordable housing business and the development business in general for almost 40 years. We have developed over 3,000 residential units, most of which is affordable. We've also done all kinds of mixed use and commercial. We have done redevelopment and joint partnerships with other cities, including Hallandale Beach, Town of Davie, and most recently, of course, Boynton Beach and the CRA for Ocean Breeze East. We do everything from A to Z. We do the acquisition, we do the development, we have a construction division, and as property managers, we can retain all of our own properties and handle our own management, so we assure the highest level of quality and no conflict of interest between ownership and management. We also specialize in multi-source financing. As you will see attached to our performers, we have a few sample letters of commitment from lenders and equity providers. We're providing too many various options for financing, so we couldn't produce for all of them, but we have long-standing relationships with these lenders and equity providers. We know that we'll be able to back up any of the plans that we will be talking to you about later on. Our current portfolio includes, again, all the over 3,000 residential units. Most of it is affordable, and the 900,000 square feet of residential and commercial. Those are a couple of the awards that we have received as property managers. And a couple of sample developments as well. And a few pictures from the interior. A few future developments. One of them is Ocean Breeze. One is Orchid Estates, which is on its way, and Stadium Tower is one that we're also planning on doing. As far as new and recent developments, part of our plan will be to approach Florida Housing Finance Corporation for tax credit funding or sale funding, and we're proud and happy to tell you over the last 3 years we have been awarded 3 times. Once for sale funds, workforce funding for Redland Crossings, once for rehabilitation in Hialeah, Lake Point Plaza, and most recently for Ocean Breeze East. Now, as far as the plans for Las Brisas, we have some conceptual plans that we'd like to show you. We haven't provided a detailed plan for every one of our options because the RFA itself was a little bit open-ended, which makes it exciting. There was talk of including privately owned land surrounding and in between the CRA properties. And we will be showing you later all kinds of different scenarios involving those as well. But we do have plans such as this site plan. Rather than providing a very detailed site plan, we'd like to do what we are doing at Ocean Breeze, which is meeting with the city and its staff and providing solutions that work best for everybody. We do commit to provide 2,500 square feet approximately of commercial space. And the site plan would vary based on the number of units that the CRA would prefer us to pursue, as well as the pieces of property that it would make sense to acquire from private owners. This is the north side of MLK. If I go back for a second, The south side is where we would be talking about possibly acquiring land from private owners to provide more of a continuous site plan utilizing the CRA lots. And we, as a matter of fact, we already have 2 under contract subject to this happening. We have a contract to purchase 4 lots from Loran, and we have a contract to purchase 1 lot from DJ Management. We've also talked to the Bells. We do not have a contract with them, but we have included them in some of our scenarios because we know what they would like to do as far as selling price and whatnot. So altogether, this opens up for so many possible permutations, as you've seen, I'm sure, in our package. We have numerous financial scenarios, and we'd like to get a feel for which ones would make more sense for the CRA and pursue that and provide a more detailed site plan in accordance to what makes sense for the CRA. The floor plans you've seen before. We are going to provide 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bedroom, 2 baths, and 3 bedroom, 2 baths. Of course, we'll be doing green certification and providing a number of attractive interior features. There are some of the tenant programs that we have been providing at other communities. Did we get the handouts? They have them. Okay, now, what we don't have there, because it gets a little hard to read, I can't read the details, are all the different financial options that we have anticipated, and those are and the back end of the handouts that we've given you. There's nothing in there that isn't already in the RFA that was submitted to you, but it makes it easier for you to reference it as we go along. So moving along to the financial scenarios, we provided a large number of those to give you the options and to see that we've pursued pretty much every option in that area on the north and south side of Martin Luther King, where we have the contiguous sites. I think that whereas we wanted to show you all the options that we see for this development, there are probably some that would make more sense to meet the city's and the CRA's goal without going overboard and spending TIF funds. Of course, the more TIF funds, the more units, but everything has its limitations. So I'd like to refer you to well, first, if you want to go to, there is a, let's see where we have this, excuse me. The first one of the financing scenarios right behind the maps, can you find those? Yeah. The maps, of course, are where we show which properties can be acquired from private owners combined with what the CRA already owns. L stands for Loran. Those are the 4 lots we have under contract. DJ is, of course, DJ Management, and then you have the CRA land and the Bell piece in the middle. The financing option on the first sheet, maybe the most viable or one of the simplest one would be financing option 1A, whereby we would do 90 units and we would apply for tax credits to do so without acquiring any land from anybody else.
If we fail to get the tax credits, we'd move on to the sale version, and if that didn't work, then we would talk to the city about funding it through TIF money, which would be item number 3A. And what we're willing to do here is that we see that for $2 million, we would be able to do the sale deal, and we could also do a deal acquiring some private lots, and certainly we can do a tax credit deal for even better. But to put our money where our mouth is, as they say, we would be willing to buy those lots that are right there on the north and south side of MLK for $2 million right now, and close right now. And then you could give us a year or two or three to go through the application cycles, or we could, and of course we'd be willing to give you a revert clause by which the lots would, the property would be going back to you. But we could close right up front. This. Yeah, that exactly. It gives the CRA a chance to recuperate its investments, and it'll assure the CRA that we will do absolutely everything in our power and utilize our vast experience to make sure that this would happen. Another alternative that I'd like to point to is not on the next page, but the following page is item number 8. If you look in the upper left corner, you'll see where it says item number 8. That would be a similar scenario whereby we would purchase the same land from you for the $2 million, and we would purchase the 4 lots we have under contract with Loran for another $875,000. We'd close on all of that right now. The reason why we'd have to do it all right now is because neither Loran nor Bell nor DJ are willing to wait for the tax credit option. So if we go ahead and close on it now, we can move forward.
All right. Well, I don't know if the audience can see, but we see the 13 different options, and I just want to point out the 13th option, I guess, is with that means we don't get any of the Florida housing tax credits. That you have the option of the CRA grant of $1.2 million plus the CRA tax incremental revenue for 15 years of a total of $1.5 million. Is that correct?
Well, yes, but...
And so that's the worst case scenario.
It's one that we wouldn't even talk to you about when you see the TIF amount and you just say this isn't going to happen, then we'll just scratch it off the list.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Is that there are so many different options available that we have that you went through all of them, and so that's kind of where that's the discussion for the board later on, because you gave us all that information. I know that Board Member Casella needs a light, but everybody is. But that is great. And so is there anything else besides the different options available for the new MLK corridor that you have left in the presentation?
As I mentioned, the retail component, we will do about 2,500 square feet. We'll meet with interested parties to see what we can put in there. We have not determined that as of yet. Okay. We also, as you've seen in our RFA, we'll have an outreach program where to involve the local community, very similarly to what we did in our last presentation. All of that is within the binder of the RFA submitted to you. The reason why I focused on the numbers is because you've seen all the other things before. This is what's specific to this particular deal.
And that's kind of what we're looking for, is how do we get this deal done? And so I appreciate for what you're doing. And one of the other things is for the retail space there, you're taking out more than, I think, 20. Is it the current retail there 2,500 square feet? With the MLK Quick Stop and the other, the Robinson's Barbecue and the nail salon. Is that roughly all the commercial that is there now?
I'm not sure what that's the size of
the Bell's property.
Right, but we are only a few of these scenarios involve the Bell property. We do not have that under contract.
Okay.
We can, but the Bell property...
Can you speak more closely into the microphone?
Okay, I'm sorry. My name is Louis Sweezy. I'm the president of Centennial. If you look on page 3 of this booklet, you'll see the price per unit for the additional land.
It's not actually page 3. It's a couple of pages before the scenarios where it says adding private lots.
And what the cost is per unit.
Give them a second to find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see the page called adding private lots?
Next time, I would suggest page numbers.
Yes, I was just thinking the same thing. Thank you very much. I apologize. It would have made my life a lot easier, too. It's kind of in the middle before all the financing scenarios.
And the other thing is that I think it's zoned for MU1, not MU2, the future land use on that area.
That might be a typo. We certainly did our performas and plans based on the proper information. So I'll make note of that. Did you see the adding private lots?
I see that as well. And so
As you can see, we talk more about the Loran lots for 2 reasons. First of all, because the number of units it generates would average less than 40,000 per unit approximately. And also it would be of great benefit to tying all out the remaining CRA properties into one bigger site. Whereas the Bell piece, they want $2 million and they would only generate approximately 11, maybe 12 units, and that's over 100 or about 180,000 per unit.
It's just for land cost.
Just for land cost, exactly. That's when you get into some serious TIF money if you wanted to include that. We certainly could.
Okay. Is there anything further? Yeah, okay. Yes, Board Member Cray.
Thank you. First of all, I want to know, where did you get this name from? It's not funny.
It's the breezes in Spanish.
Oh, we're not Spanish over there. That's number 1.
We'd be happy to change it.
Okay, that's just follow me. I followed you. Okay, it seemed like what you're trying to bring over to MLK Boulevard, sir, is a housing project. We want retail, and I think you all are kind of missing that. You know, we wanted to be a vibrant place where we could walk up and down MLK Boulevard and go to various shops and do things that we used to do. We don't want you all to bring a housing project and drop it in on MLK Boulevard and say, this is what you all wanted. You all missing the boat. This is not what we're asking for. We're asking for retail space. We're asking for barber shops. Is that what we're going to be getting? This looks like a housing unit, what you all are telling me about.
No, we understand, Commissioner McRae, but, you know, the city now is investing a lot of money into the old City Hall, and they're going to be bringing a huge retail component in there, which is within walking distance of this location.
Sir, I understand what you're saying, but although the city is bringing in the City Hall, et cetera, we are missing. Now, I'm not missing. You all are missing what the citizens of District 2 have been requesting for MLK Boulevard, and that is retail space. We don't want where we have to walk downtown, you know, to go to retail space, or we want retail space in our own community. Is this what you all are trying to bring there? This is what I'm saying. You all are missing the boat. Please don't come and tell me that I have to go. Sir, let me finish. Don't tell me I have to go down to City Hall to shop and go around and buy ice cream if I want to buy ice cream. We want things for our kids, our people in our community to be able to walk and say we want to go on a thriving street that we had once before. I cannot sit up here and support a housing unit being placed on MLK Boulevard. And that seems like what you all are trying to bring here with this proposal to me.
Commissioner Katz, or Board Member Katz, sorry.
Could the potential residential on the south side of the street have retail units on the first floor, so it's a mixed use in nature? If financially it's necessary to put a certain number of residential units to make the project viable, but obviously as Board Member McRae indicated, there's a desire for more retail and commercial than advertised, I think, in both plans that have been presented tonight. Is there a possibility, to make it mixed use to the effect that you could put commercial units on the first floor with the expanded sidewalk, like you indicated, to allow for pedestrian activity and whatnot?
Well, we'd be more than happy to do that. We're currently doing a project in a charrette area that's a QTC in Day County, and we're doing that right now. We have a 3-story complex with probably around $3,000 to $4,000 feet of retail on the ground level. We're amenable to all of that and to open ideas too with the retail component. But a lot of times you see them, they build them and they stay empty. And, there's a lot of financial risk to that. And we're willing to close on the land from the city. We're willing to pay cash up front to help the city recoup the money they've already invested into the community and provide a beautiful new renovation, community redevelopment in that area with new apartments and just a breath of fresh air. Bring some life into it.
You ready? Yes.
Sir, you just made a statement. You said that you build them and they stay empty. There's been times I've noticed, sir, and that is you build them and they will come too. So this is the part I'm going to go with, sir. We're looking for retail.
And so the situation is that there is the cost to have retail, and that is something we can discuss possibly with the tax incremental funding, whether you get Florida housing tax credits. The way I see it is that we're hiring or selecting a partner to move forward with the vision who has the best options moving forward with the whole MLK corridor. I thought it was very good that you have the purchase agreement with the proposal so that we know that, like you said, if selected, you can move forward with this. I guess one of the only other things that I would say is that, if the project doesn't go through, that we could get the properties for the money that we give at the grant.
Correct.
Okay.
And
Yes.
if I'm sorry, just to follow up on that, in terms of adding some TIF funds to possibly help fund retail portion. If you look at a couple of our scenarios, the ones that I was touching on, if we succeed with Florida Housing, we are offering to pay $2 million towards the land. I mean, if we pay less towards land, we could put more into retail. So we certainly there's a lot of flexibility here.
And we're willing to work with the city and staff for whatever they want.
Sir, I know you're willing to work with city and staff. Stay right there. Please tell me you're willing to work with the citizens of that district. That's what I need to be hearing. That's what they're going to be wanting to hear when they come out. I'm sorry.
I assumed, yeah.
No, please don't assume with me.
Commissioner McCreary, I meant that, but I
Okay.
figured it's the staff represented them, but yes.
Okay. See, we all going to partner in this here. I'm just saying we're partners. I'm just saying the city, the residents, this is what we're doing this for. The residents that live over there in that section, talking about jumpstart, whatever you want to call it. This is what we've been waiting for over 20-some years. Okay.
Vice Chair?
Okay, so let me start out with giving kudos where kudos are merited. I do thank you very much for taking the time to break down each and every single financial option that is available to us. I commend you on that. I think that was fantastic forethought on your part. So bravo to you, because that's what we asked of the previous applicant. So you did great on that. Maybe that's because of your history of working with us. The second thing that I will say, after giving kudos, is I'm going to kind of knock you down a little bit. First of all, I'm going to kind of echo Commissioner McCrae's sentiments here. This project, what you've proposed to us, it's missing the homeownership aspect. I don't see any opportunity for residents to own their own property in this proposal. Second, it needs way more retail, and we need to incorporate the retail component more. We not only want to create affordable housing, we want to create a vibrant economy in this area that allows for people to open small businesses, open salons, open ice cream parlor, or whatever it may be that they may want to do, incorporate entrepreneurs who are in the local community, who are maybe perhaps working out of their home or but who want a general area where they can come and establish their business and have local residents come and see what they have to offer. Thirdly, I believe, in my opinion, the part that I believe everyone has missed here is there is no honor being given to the fact that this is a historically black district, and that part of the RFP language was put in there to say that the applicant has to show deference to the fact that this has been a historically black community, and we want to show that honor back. First and foremost, the first mistake you made was naming this project Las Brisas. let's fix that, please.
We will.
Okay, and remember that not only in the naming, but also in the actual culmination of the project, you know, there should be plaques, there should be different things that, again, lend the honor and the deference back to the residents and back to the people who have, you know, sown blood, sweat, and tears into this community for years, who have been waiting for something to show them the level of respect that they earn and that they've deserved. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done in your project. I do appreciate you guys as the applicant, because you have done a lot of work with us in the past and you've been successful in what you've tried to do. But I'm not sure whether it's on our part because of the language of the RFP, or if you simply just, you know, tried to duplicate what you did with Ocean Breeze East for this. I was expecting something different, and I don't feel like I really received that.
I'd just like to say, you know, I hope we're not going on racial divides here. I'm all for plaques and keeping the black culture, and I think that's very important. But it sounds like we're trying to divide here. You know, Board Member McCray, you say they're not going to walk a couple blocks to come to, you know, down to the downtown area to shop or buy an ice cream. They're going to stay, you know, zoned into their own neighborhoods. I don't believe that. I think that, you know, like you said earlier, we can build these retail places, but a lot of times we have that problem now, right over in some of our own areas over here, where these storefronts stay empty. So, you know, we're trying to break down these racial divides and barriers, and I think that, you know, that's what it's for the whole city, for the good of the whole city. It's not about the black community versus a white community. It's for what's good for the whole city. And, you know, for people from District 3 and from District 4 to come down, you know, we want to come down in District 2 to shop and buy those ice creams, and we will. But we can't make it so pointed and so, you know, it's obvious to me sitting here is that, you know, it's what they want. It's what it's what the city needs. It's all about personal wants. So I think we got to expand our idea and the scope of what we're trying to do for the good of the whole city.
Yes, Board Member McCray.
Thank you. First of all,
Vice Chair.
we're not trying to racially divide this city, but Board Member Costello, I thank you for what you said, but every city in America, you can go and you don't have to worry about where black people stay. I'm sorry. You know, we have our own identity. We're not racially dividing anything. I'm just saying, you know, things have been taken from us more than you will ever know. We're just saying, give back to us what you all took from us when you said that you wanted to start a CRA. You started tearing down buildings. We had barber shops. We had bars. We had everything over there, sir, that we needed. I'm just saying, we'd have been better off for you to let things stay the way that they were. We was happy and we're still happy. There's nobody talking about no racially divide. We're talking about give us some things that we can be proud of. I'm just saying, you all are proud of your stuff. Make us proud of our stuff. I'm just saying, we have heritage just like you all have heritage. I'm just saying, you eat black food just like we eat white food. I'm just saying, it's not racially divided, sir. Don't go down that avenue with me.
Vice Chair. Vice Chair.
Right, and I'll also comment on Commissioner Costello's comments. You know, Commissioner Costello, I believe you come from a different place of understanding, especially when it comes to being a person of non-black origin, to walk down the black person's lifestyle. You don't have that experience. But what I will
Just
say...
for the record, Board Member Ramos, I have a biracial daughter, so please don't do that black, white, I don't understand.
Excuse me, it wasn't your turn to talk.
Thank you, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So what I'm trying to say is that this was never a black-white issue. This was simply the fact that this is a historically black neighborhood. If we're going to rebuild something in a historically black neighborhood, I do believe that we have an obligation to make it something that not only benefits the residents who live there, but also attracts other people when they come to understand that this is a historically beautiful area, that we magnify what's happened here. We honor and we give deference to people who have lived here, who have worked here, who had businesses here, who owned homes here, and we show that. That's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm asking for these applicants to make sure that they put in their application process. We're not asking for a divide here. We're not asking for us to have Town Square 2.0 down MLK. We're asking for something that allows for the black community to make sure that they also see that in the revitalization portion of their neighborhood, they're also given honor, they're given deference. That's what I'm asking for. So please don't make this into a black and white thing, because it never was. You made it become one when you started mentioning that. What I'm asking for, and I believe if I could find it in the language of the RFP, we simply made sure we said that as we go forward with this redevelopment of this community, we make sure that we include all of the people who have, come through and who have lived here, who have put their blood, sweat, and tears here, who have sent their children to school here, who've paid taxes into our taxing system here. That's what we're asking for. And I believe that that's not too much to ask for people who have for so long been waiting to be recognized for the work and efforts that they have provided to this community to build this city, to make sure that we are where we are and who we are today.
As Board Member Katz.
Yeah, I got a wide-ranging number of things I'll discuss. First and foremost, I think that with regards to the lack of cultural consideration in the schematics and design, I think that will be followed up with the public art component. So I'm not defending or taking sides on this because I have no interest in jumping into this. But I assume that the cultural component will be the arts component. I don't know what a building blueprint could do to be cultural, but I think that while absent from both proposals, I do believe that plaques, or whether it's art or whatever, will pay homage. Certainly the name was a swing and a miss for this area, but I think that consideration will be addressed with regards to the public art, or if we want to include certain parameters on potential TIF funding as it relates to certain cultural aspects, then we can do that. But so just to say, I don't think that it was a willful neglect. It's just that that's something that comes when you get into the art aspect of it or the facade aspect of it. That being said, I have a couple of questions or concerns, maybe just statements, whatever, they fall into all categories. One, I think that what I alluded to earlier might be beneficial. I like, both presentations. I think both companies have proven themselves through their past work and through even their work in Boynton Beach, which is another benefit for us that we've seen or will see shortly, the fruits of their labors. I think that having those dollar comparisons, even though Centennial included them, it would be nice to, in my opinion, push this one meeting request or have CRA staff put together, because assuming you have all the information or you can request it, some sort of comparables. I know that the previous respondent said that, if they don't get the taxes, then that might change the dynamic of it and reduce the units and so forth. But we can't, even though you have admirably priced out over a dozen possible scenarios, I think that with CRA staff direction, we could look at a couple of finite scenarios to try to get a better pound-for-pound comparison. I think without that dollar comparison for the other participant, I don't want to absolutely say without it, they are disqualified essentially. I wouldn't mind seeing it side by side. There's no urgency to approve anything tonight versus 30 days from now. So I think that having all that information compiled and set in front of us side by side it will be beneficial. I'll throw a personal opinion in here that the $2 million for what would produce 11 units in the form of purchasing the current convenience store in that area is mind-blowing to me. So I would say that personally in supporting any proposal that, if we're going to put in some heavy funding for this, I would appreciate it if it went to more than 11 units. So maybe that property, if they're not willing to negotiate a more reasonable cost, essentially, I understand it's a free market and we're developing this land and it's government funding and in a private partnership, so I get the desire to seek the maximum return, but $2 million for land that would yield 11 units, you can't build affordable housing when you purchase the land at $180,000, the land alone. So, at market value, without taking into the local variables there, if you purchase land for $180,000 and build a house, you're talking about a $400,000 house. So that, to me, sticks out as a negotiation that needs to take place to drive that price down, because that's insane.
So yeah. Katz, do you have any further questions from the...
No.
So I'm going to ask if we want to have any further questions for the proposer before we have a deliberation from our board. Vice Chair, yes.
So before my comments got derailed, I would like to ask a question in terms of what are you willing to change about your proposal that would incorporate some of these things that I've said in terms of incorporating a homeownership aspect, incorporating more retail into your plan. What are your ideas and what are your plans on that?
Currently, right now, our plans didn't call for the adjacent lots, and so the CRA would still have those lots. We could come back, or we can, and build single-family housing on those lots.
Not saying single-family housing, but just home ownership, any type of,
No, I
whether
mean,
it's condos, whether it's townhomes.
Yeah, we can build some townhomes on your other single, you have 3 or 4 lots we didn't include that were scattered, and we'd be more than happy to build townhouse developments on those for home ownership. We've done it before.
Okay, and then on retail?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Commissioner.
Retail.
Well, the retail, right now...
For example, considering what Board Member Katz mentioned about perhaps making the first floor some type of retail entity, what are your thoughts on that? And what would you be willing
that's
to
what
do
we
on
were
that?
thinking. I'm sorry, Commissioner. Thank you. That's what we were mentioning, that on the first floor, we could build, we estimated 2,500, but we could build up to 4,000, maybe 5,000 feet of retail on the ground floor of a structure. Or if you want us to segment it, the problem with it is it's hard to get the density in the other land if you do that. But we're willing to work with the city on that. It's going to take TIF money from the city to make it work, but yeah, we could do that.
Sarah, I got a question. So I was looking at the RFQ, and where it says mixed use, the recommendations land use, it says, and on CRA-owned property along MLK Junior Boulevard. However, the future land use map that we give is mixed use low. And so I want to know is that what controls is the mixed use low with 20 units per acre, what's controlling? And Centennial misread, we made the mistake of saying that it is 40 units in the RFQ.
CRA staff requested review from city's planning staff on those recommendations in the RFP on both the east and the west side. You'll remember in the new zoning matrix, there's a 1 and a 2 and a 3, and some of those have sub-boxes that allow for a 20, 30, and 40 unit increment, not just the low as being 20. Certainly that's something that we can discuss with the city and whatever developer you select, but the CRA plan isn't the zoning.
So I'm seeing the table 7, the recommended future land use, and where it says mixed use low, it says the density cap 20. It is not in the TOD, and so I just want to make sure that we're not having to redo or if we need the mixed use 2, that we would have to also do the future land use amendment for this. Because the way I see it is that mixed use 2 is not in the current future land use.
Well, we'd have to do land use change on the north side if we wanted residential, because right now it only provides for commercial. So there will be changes that would have to be made and supported by the plan, but as you know, the city commission and the city process governs those decisions and the direction of those formally. But certainly, I believe this is going to take some type of, very, very similar to the process that we discussed with Town Square. That was part of what was the impetus of this project in a RFQ and an RFP. We were not specific to particular outcomes to the letter, and we were looking for vision, partnership, and evolving that concept in a similar way. So again, if I've made a mistake as staff, I based that on discussions and review with the city. So if I made some mistake...
No, I'm sorry. I'm also colorblind. So there's certain areas that are mixed-use medium that they're discussing. My apologies. It's the area to the east of that is mixed-use low. And then to the north area is commercial. My apologies.
That's okay. I appreciate that. The other thing is that the single-family home ownership component, just the single-family part, not townhouse, isn't supported in the zoning, and it isn't supported in the plan on MLK Boulevard. Doesn't mean it can't change, but right now, multifamily from our property all the way to our property on the east, the vision in that plan was multiple unit, not single-family. Okay. But it doesn't mean it couldn't change.
All right. Yes.
May I just request that we release the applicant and bring in the others so that we can have this open discussion? Are we done with them?
I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
You may have a seat. We didn't want to keep you at the podium. We're done with our questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Awesome.
So I'm asking, I guess we're moving forward with the ranking. So the process that I'm going to move forward before I ask for final comments, I understand, Board Member Katz, you have some more comments, is that we have the ranking system that the CRA staff did. We can try to make our own ranking, create our own ranking system, points if we so wish to, or we are able to choose the CRA staff. So Board Member Katz, if you'd like to have your comments, and then the rest of the board to have their own ranking if you choose to do so.
Yeah, as it pertains to the ranking system, I'd inquired after one of the previous meetings about what seems like an evolving procedure on this board with regards to ranking respondents for RFPs and RFQs. I know in my recollection up until a couple meetings ago when we did the Cottage District, we had never ranked as a board any of the proposals that staff had ranked them, and then we were subsequently shown those rankings, and ultimately we're free to make any sort of determination or decision we want. But it seems, and I think that, in speaking to the executive director, that the impetus behind giving us some more control or some more input on the rankings is to do just that, to provide us an opportunity to score them. But I have a personal philosophy, at least if I've watched this unfold, that we are elected officials, we are political and subjective by nature in our decision making, and I think that my personal opinion is that we should not be ranking these. We should take the expert staff rankings and then choose to follow them or not. We can, as individuals, completely disregard their evaluation, which is objective inherently, and choose what would be a second or a third or a 10th place applicant based on their rankings. But I'm not sure why, and again, I think that the explanation provided by staff was to give us more input, but I view the ranking to need to be an objective expert analysis versus our decision making, which is political and subjective. I don't like that we're doing these rankings just because they've shifted just in the past two meetings. We went from ranking 3 proposals, 1, 2, and 3, and now we're literally using a scoring rubric with regards to the what we would need to do this ranking system. For instance, number 3 under it says conceptual financial plan, proposed purchase price, overall financing. I think that they're more equipped to provide those rankings. I guess I'll sum up by saying I'm not going to complete this scoring form. I'm going to accept the recommendations from staff and make a determination of my own. But I think that through best intentions from staff, we've delved into the weeds, and now we've delved into kind of an executive realm of power here. We have, and I include myself in that, so no one take offense, we lack any expertise to evaluate applicants on this kind of multi-aspect level. I think that we've crossed into this realm that is the responsibility of staff, and it puzzles me a little bit, and I'm not interested in it. So I do not intend on participating in any scoring, because I think that I can make a determination based on staff and the presentations. I'm not qualified to evaluate financial proposals on a 20-point scale. I can determine from 2 applicants which one I prefer, but I think we're in the weeds as far as this extensive review process of creating our own rubrics and scoring and all that.
Board Member McCray.
Thank you. Board Member Katz. I'm on the same avenue, and I'm going to be honest with you all, the 2 presenters. I have never been more thoroughly confused. I'm just saying, neither one of y'all gave me really what I was looking for, and if I sit up here and rank you, I'm just saying I'll be telling a lie, because I'm just saying, in my opinion, a lot is like it in both presentations as far as I'm concerned. I'm just saying, I'm not going to say they all was good, because I'm just saying, when I didn't see retail coming in, that's what I was looking at, and then to get a name by, and show me a thing of townhomes going to be on MLK Boulevard. That kind of put me down again, but I will have to rely on staff as well, because I'm just saying the first one did not give us anything side by side that said, this is what is best for 1, best for 2, best for 3. And the last one that came up did not emphasize retail. So I'm just saying, I think we all need more time to go through this again. I'm just saying, but right now, I wasn't satisfied. I'm not satisfied. And if it's left up to me, I have no vote for neither one of you at this point. Thank you.
I concur with what Board Member Katz said regarding the ranking. I'm going to defer to staff. Centennial gave over 370 pages. Neighborhood Renaissance gave 190 pages. I'm sure staff put the amount of time necessary into ranking these, along with, did staff receive a presentation as well?
No, we did not.
It was just purely on the numbers that we see forward. Based upon the presentation, I think staff had it right. And so I'm going to use staff's number regarding my ranking for the points. And so if the other board... Yes.
Staff, let me ask you a question. You all seen the presentation, tonight. Are you all satisfied, or are you all confused as hell like I am?
I think that there is potential in whichever organization you select to begin some discussion with. There is a way to make it clearer, as was suggested. I think with all of the options being presented, you are still going to have, and the difference between Ocean Breeze East, let's say, was it was one single piece of property, it was one single thing it could be, and here were the options, and you reviewed them. In this particular case, we didn't say you're going to build X amount of retail, X amount of units, and tell us how you're going to do it, and what are your 3 options. So it is going to be a little jumbled, but I think you have very qualified responses. I think it's great to get 2 responses of this caliber with these companies. I think as staff, we would begin to take your comments tonight and either bring back more detail for you or begin some discussion in greater detail with the selected respondent.
Let me finish. Right, one other thing. When will you all, as staff, go out and meet with the citizens in District 2, or let me say it like this, the citizens in Boynton, okay, to find out what do they want? I'm just saying, we need to have dialogue with them. I always speak for, and I'm just saying we need to make sure that we're all on the same page.
To answer your question, I envisioned this process being very similar again to a recently processed very large-scale project, and that is having, once you've selected an individual company, to start discussing these different options and various scenarios and what we're willing to commit. You begin that, you remember we have 4 or 5 meetings with the town square, what kinds of theming, what kinds of elements. There is an opportunity to engage the community with a developer rather than just trying to have the developer figure it out first and then bring back that. I think that's how you get that engagement with the community as it develops and they feel part of that development. I think it worked very successfully with Town Square. It's going to be a smaller scale, but we would immediately go out with them.
Let me explain, why I'm going this way. When, all of this started, the CRA, many years ago, we had charrettes with citizens in the community of District 2 when they was getting property, and this is what we said that we wanted. We met, and we met. Anybody got any of those records anywhere, those charrettes?
Yes, sir.
I think y'all need to look at them, and then, I'm not trying to be facetious, but somebody need to go back and revisit what the citizens over there at that point said that they wanted then. We haven't changed that from then to now. This is what I'm saying.
2014 Heart of Boynton Plan, 2016 Heart of Boynton Plan, it's all the same. So we can meet again if you like.
But we had some plans before the 2014 and 2016. We had some back then in the 90s.
Yes, you did.
Okay, them are the ones I'm looking for.
Okay.
Okay.
Board Member Katz,
I'll wait till Board Member Ramos speaks. She hasn't
Vice Chair.
So For me personally, I will not also be ranking the individuals tonight. In actuality, I believe that this process was a wash. I do not necessarily feel that either applicant brought back what we were looking for this RFP, what we were looking for this community. And I believe we need to go back to the drawing board. That's my personal opinion.
Yes, board member.
Right, so a reflection or two, and then a recommendation. One, I think that as Executive Director Simon described, this project, because of the number of variables versus a more finitely describable project like Ocean Breeze East, we purposely cast a wide net here. We said we didn't want to bind or restrict anybody to a very specific project because the market demand of this area necessitated a lot of options and variables. So I don't begrudge either applicant for not putting forth the exact vision that we might have. I think that since they're both highly qualified applicants, we're in a great position now that through these recommendations, whether it's 30 or 60 days or whatever's fit or seen fit by the parties and the staff, that with these recommendations and discussions, I think now that both applicants absolutely have a much better idea of what we might be looking for versus the wide net kind of open-ended RFP that we'd put out there. So I would not begrudge them for that. I don't begrudge staff for putting this rubric before us because I think its intention is to give us more input, but sometimes when you give people too many choices or too many options, it becomes detrimental to the result, especially when, again, as I include myself in this, I trust your expertise and your staff's expertise more than my subjective opinion about the proposals. So, everyone with the best intentions tonight, I think that it'd be worthwhile, like I said, 30 or 60 days, whatever's an appropriate amount of time to regroup, to compile a more understandable financial comparison between the two, because there are a dozen variables for one, and the other applicant didn't have the priced out variables for us to easily see. They've got direction now. I think that we've got a lot to work with here, and it's best not to throw everything out, but to say, look, now let's narrow the scope, move forward, and come back with these revisions in mind. I think that, like I said, I'm excited by the potential because we have two high-quality applicants, and I know that either one of them will be capable of adhering to some of the concerns and guidelines that we set forth or the community would set forth subsequent to us picking one to present to them. So I would request at your advice a 30 or 60-day period here where we narrow the scope based on discussions and staff work with them to direct them in a direction that seems more agreeable to what the board envisioned. I don't know if that's possible.
You have a lot of options in front of you. That is certainly one of them. And what I would say, you have two options there. One would be to have staff do their analysis and make a more detailed presentation to you of the financial aspect, which is, I think, one of the things I'm hearing the board asking for more clarity on. The second piece has to do with the proposed projects themselves and what is being proposed. It would certainly be possible for the board to agree on criteria or assignments, if you will, and ask each of the proposers to give them a certain period of time during which they could present to you different proposals for the development that address whatever design elements that you want. Whatever additional information you're looking for, you can ask them to submit within a given period of time and present back to you. So it could be a twofold thing, as long as both presenters are given the opportunity to submit that information with the deadline.
Yes. Vice Chair, followed by Board Member Castillo.
I would take the board attorney's advice in terms of having a 60-day window, a 60-day period, to allow for both applicants to come back with something that is more amenable to what I believe several members of the board have mentioned here in terms of giving some other options of homeownership, of retail, and also of honoring the historically black district that you all will be building and transforming here. In addition, I would ask that we incorporate the fact of having staff do their due diligence of ranking and doing the background work of going through all the different details and the weeds and stuff like that. That way we don't have to be the ones going through that, and we can really just kind of stay on the surface and really just make a decision that benefits our residents and our citizens here in Boynton Beach. And I'll put that in the form of a motion as well.
Yes, Board Member Castillo, you're next.
I'd just like to say to both applicants, thank you for responding to the RFP. I know it takes a lot of hard work and time to put these kind of things together. My question is that, would it behoove to the applicants to go out into community before they come back to us in those 60 and 90 days, whatever time period we give here, to get out there and have those talks to the community and come back with more of a focused idea of what, actually we're trying to do there. They know what we're asking them, but maybe with the input from the community, they'll have even a better idea and a more narrowed it down, so we don't have to keep going back and forth. Would that be something that...
I'm not sure how you would structure...
I'm not demanding, I'm just asking.
I mean, if there's public here this evening that could add to the discussion on, if you so chose. I think having like an open dialogue with these two developers sitting there and trying to kind of...
Two different days, and...
I think that would come...
After we select.
Yes, you've given an awful lot of detail to both of them with regard to missing...
Very good, okay.
Thank you.
All right. If someone had their hand up?
Put it down after you just said what he said. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table.
Second.
This is to take 60 days to have staff work with the applicants to fine tune.
Okay. Tara?
Well,
Did you, I think one of the, when Tara and I were thinking of the same thing, you're having a few specific items that you would like them to work on is I think key to this releasing them.
So the whole thing is that can we
everywhere.
extend the RFP and I guess the cone of silence for another 30 days based upon the new requirements that we have?
You don't need to extend it because we haven't made a selection, and in fact, the RFP allows you to not make this decision. So all the dates in there are variable, and it proposes that you could go to the advisory board and come back in October. The cone of silence applies until the decision is made.
Okay.
So I would just say what we would need to do, just to be clear, is have Mike recite to you what he believes the criteria are. He can issue a communication to the proposers that enumerates what we're asking for with a deadline, the 60-day deadline to provide it.
One of the other things is I remember that there were, Centennial was talking about the November, I think, deadline for sale. And so if we extend it, we will not be able to get any sort of housing tax credits for this fiscal year, and we would have to wait until the following fiscal year for any sort of tax credits. Is that the desire of the board?
I'm not in a rush to move this along simply because we're trying to get sale funding. We can always push it back and try, and especially because one of the applicants is proposing going for 9%, so we'd have to wait anyway. And one of the proposals is to do it to perhaps 3 rounds, so there's really no rush here.
I mean, I feel that there is a rush to get development on MLK.
I absolutely agree with you, but it has to be done right.
Okay. Board Member Katz.
So just to, and Director Simon might plan to do this in a second on his own, but to me, to summarize some of the caveats first and foremost, and the simplest one, select name for the development that would pay homage to the local community and culture. 2, incorporate mixed use to allow for additional retail commercial development on the first floor to allow for kind of a walkable, avenue, so to say. I know obviously affordable housing is preferred. I don't know what to do with regards to ownership opportunities, because when you start building multifamily units and 4 stories and stuff, it becomes harder to sell condos, in an economically depressed area versus renting them. So I don't know if that's like a later conversion type thing, but I don't know what the direction of the board would be with regards to ownership opportunities when you're talking about not doing single-family units or townhouses versus the condo/apartment feature. But, if anyone else has any other input, I think that's what they need clear direction on, what things they want to tell the respondents to fine-tune. And those were just some of the ones off the top of my head that I recalled.
Board Member McRae, anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, I spoke enough. He has enough to fine tune. He know where to go.
All right, Vice Chair?
I'd like to hear from Mike if there's anything that Board Member Katz left out.
Board Member Casello?
I think we got direction.
Okay. I agree with Board Member Katz regarding the home ownership. We have the Cottage District. We have Northwest 11th Avenue that we're building and having 11 new homes available. I don't think that the home ownership aspect for the multifamily housing and for affordable homes works. So it's either one or the other.
I'd still like to be given options. That's what I'm asking.
All right. So, Executive Director, do you mind giving us the rundown?
I would say it exactly the way Board Member Katz did on the three opportunities to review and to further enhance them would be the review of the cultural or the connection to the neighborhood a component, the mixed-use walkability component, some type, if there's a possibility and feasibility of a townhouse or some other type of ownership within that zoning area. And in addition to those three, I would absolutely add a further detailing of your financial planning, recognizing it may be several options, but as the development community, I would expect them to maybe hone in on the best ones. Maybe it doesn't matter if there's 5 or 6, but 13's a lot, and 2 is not enough. So I would just, they've provided their detail. I would take what they've given us so they don't change what they've given us, but pull out detail that makes sense to the public and makes sense to the board. I think that would be easy for them to do with the time that we're allowing. I think that's it, unless I've missed something.
I guess the only thing is the deadline for this for staff to review.
So
It's roughly November 11th, 60 days.
it would be the December meeting is what would come back to.
So I'm asking, is it okay if we ask how much time would staff need for the November 11th meeting?
The December meeting.
I'm asking for how much time would you need? What would the dedeadline be?
How much time do you want to give the respondents? It's not, our analysis could be done in a day or two.
I believe it's the...
So I don't think they're going to need that much time to...
Your 60-day to bring back to you is November 13th. So
Fine with that.
So how much time staff needs to bring it
We'll
back?
need their responses by October 22nd.
45 days.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly.
Are the two applicants amenable to those
We could even
timelines?
extend it to the 25th if you prefer. Pirates is that weekend, so...
So whatever you get on the 26th, you're not going to look at it until the 30th or 31st.
Right, I would start the 29th, so...
Okay, so let's put it at the 30th because you guys aren't going to look at it anyway till then.
Can we say 9 a.m. on the 30th, or we just need to pick a time?
Well, end of business at 5 p.m.
5 p.m.?
Why are we pushing to the 30th if we could just do the 26th?
Because they're not going to look at it because of Pirate Fest.
29th, how about the 29th on Monday by noon?
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So that they can turn it in early, which would make sense.
And you would direct the existing evaluation committee that did the first to work again together?
Correct.
Great.
And evaluation
also-
committee is a staff, correct?
That is Twee Shutt, myself, Mike Rumpf, and David Scott.
So I would just also like...
And Vicky for staff.
I'd also like to see their numbers as well. So instead of just the average numbers, but each individual.
Okay, very good.
Okay. So we have a motion and second of what we've been saying. Is that okay, Tara?
Yes.
All right.
I think the motion is to approve direction to the proposers as stated by Executive Director Simon.
All right, that is the motion. It has been seconded. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Seeing none, motion is approved unanimously.
Chair?
Yes.
And just, I'd like to say to the two applicants, I know virtually everything we just said will drive up the cost of the project, but that is the purpose of the CRA, so don't be dissuaded from what we've kind of just laid on you, because I think that there's consensus on this board to try to move this project forward, and we're looking to invest, which means if the price tag goes up, but it's what we want and what the community wants, and it fits, then so just don't be dissuaded by the demands we kind of just placed at your feet, I think.
Yeah, for example, we put the extra $400,000 for next year's budget. So it's 1.6 instead of 1.2.
How do you accomplish your goals
Yeah.
is what you're looking for.
Vice Chair.
That's great.
I would suggest you do your homework on this community.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to item F, update regarding the Sunrise City CHDO and the CRA-owned properties located at Northeast 4th and Northeast 5th Avenues, AKA the Cottage District.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Board, Twee Shutt for the record, Assistant Director. We have, since the last meeting, in the selection of the negotiation, to commence the negotiation with Sunrise City, we have met with Sunrise Cities once on a face-to-face meeting and once on a conference call to request all the needed information. Their proposal, if you remember, was to pre-sell all the units using Section 8 vouchers for the home ownership component, give the CRA back approximately $1 million, and also the board direction was to make sure to maintain the price points at low to mid 200,000 for those units. So that's in essence the charge that we were given to do so. Since that time in August, their team has added and subtracted members to their partnership, and that is of concern to us because we had direction from the board to just, for instance, vet through...
Which members?
The member was the planning firm, Miller Planning. At the meeting, they swapped out for Mr. Aaron Taylor. He's a planning consultant. We've asked for his bio, his information. The second change was the architect. One of their technical principal, Mr. Eugene Fagan, whose background was told to us at our meeting was well-versed in the affordable housing, specifically public housing, the Palm Beach County Housing Authority. He's had expertise in multifamily low-income development and design. And the third change was a new member, Mr. Feeney, Brian Feeney. They introduced two staff at the second meeting, which is a conference call, and he is supposedly be the expert in public housing, and his expertise, he told us, is from New Jersey, Camden, New Jersey, and among other public housing authority. So we have not met Mr. Feeney, we've asked for all the bio, but our major concern is we were hoping to meet to see when the $1 million is coming to us. How is that going to be done? They did answer that they did go and they will have the $1 million at the end of the sale of the 61 units. Your staff also did some due diligence regarding their projects, similar projects that they were given to us, and we did find out there were 4 units given to them by the Pompano CRA, 2 of which has been completed, and 2 have not begun. In the package, the 2 that was not completed, they had indicated it would be completed this fall. That is very unlikely for us because it's taking them from 2016 to do 2. The other partnership they had was with 5 nonprofits, if you recall, down in Broward in the Sunrise area. Those out of the 23 that was in the packet, 19 was given back to those nonprofits, and only 6 have commenced construction. So our
6 properties or 6 nonprofits?
six properties out of the 19 that was given back to them. So our major concern is if the sale, the million is to be given back to the Boynton CRA after completion of 61 unit, and it's taken them a longer amount of time with their existing units. Our concern is how feasible is it for us at a reasonable span of time to get that money back or to reinvest. So we have some concerns about their financial ability to complete 61 units as proposed. And we will continue to work with them if the board chooses, because the board did give us 60 days to work with them to vet things out. Our next meeting will be on the 17th with the group. But the RFP gives you full discretion to either end negotiation or based on anything else that may be given back to us from now until the 30 days, we could, go to the next proposer or just reject all proposals. So it's, yes.
Board Member Katz. You're saying you're...
Vice Chair, yes.
First, to one of your early statements, the anticipation was that they were going to provide that $1 million up front, but now you're being told that only at the conclusion of the sale, of the pre-sale of all units, would they do that?
They are not, they are reconsidering that it's 100% Section 8. We've asked for partnerships that they've had with the public, because only the Public Housing Authority can give the Section 8 vouchers, and only the Section 8 voucher recipients can move towards from rental to home ownership. And the Housing Authority will be the one that will contribute to the mortgage of those home ownership recipient. So you need to have at least a Housing Authority partnership to be able to get the home ownership Section 8 vouchers. So they did not indicate in their submission nor at our previous meeting that they have a local public housing authority that would contribute. They did say that they have managed to say that it's up to 10 to 15% if it would be Section 8. So it's kind of evolving as we speak to them. So our request of them for the next meeting is, please give us the lender, any commitment you have, if it's not a Section 8 housing authority, or give us a housing authority that will be giving you those Section 8 vouchers, whatever that percentage will be. We need to vet all that out.
Yes, Board Member Katz.
So there's how many days left on the initial negotiation term? You stated another month?
We have another month.
Okay, so I mean, my cut and dry recommendation is to continue to work through that time frame, and if staff doesn't improve their outlook on the viability of this firm to complete what they've alleged they're capable of doing, including, which was accentuated multiple times at that meeting, maintaining the price point, I think that at the end of the negotiation term, if staff is not satisfied and confident enough to tell us this is a go and we're 100% comfortable, then we move on to the second applicant.
Yeah, Vice Chair.
In my opinion, I feel that when you have somebody show you your true colors, there's no reason to try to deny that. I don't understand what's happened with this applicant. They seem to have a good, layout at the last meeting, and now everything's falling apart. Their team's falling apart, and their whole message to this board has fallen apart. We made a decision based on what they proposed to us at that time, and that has since changed. So they have not kept up their part of the bargain. So I don't believe we are obligated to keep up our part of the bargain to them. So I don't feel that we need to even give them another 30 days to continue. If we are not in violation of our contract, I believe that we should just cut ties and move on to the next team.
I fully support that. I was trying to be diplomatic because I was on the non-prevailing side of the vote in favor of this company. But if people want to move on, I would love to go straight to number 2 tonight.
So, Vice Chair, is that a motion?
Yes.
Second.
All right. So, Tara, we have a motion, if I'm not mistaken, to end contract negotiations with Sunrise and move forward with the second applicant.
Neighborhood Renaissance.
Neighborhood Renaissance.
That is permissible.
Okay. Comments from the public?
Thank you very much. David Katz, 67 Bidwood Lane, Boynton Beach. First, I want to say that I did not write the op-ed in the New York Times. Thank you, Commissioner Romulus. I think you shouldn't even move on to the second one. In reviewing the RFP for the Cottage District, and you're calling this the Cottage District, at the end of the RFP, I remember seeing elevations, depictions of cottages that you might see in Key West or in Lake Worth. And what you're doing and moving on to the number 2 is what you got with the first one, which is high-density townhomes, an HOA. That's crazy. That's crazy. You want cottages, have somebody come in here who's going to support building cottages, single-family homes for home ownership, not a project. I don't know. I just don't get it. And then, of course, the other one, which was storage containers, it was like ridiculous. But you should never move on to number 2. You should reissue the RFP to have people respond, not people, but entities respond to supply cottages, because this goes back 8 or 9 years. Previous CRA directors were the ones who started acquiring these parcels to have a cottage district. And I think it's a slap in the face to that area of the city to build another project. And the best way to do it, of course, the big cost of doing any project is the land, is to offer the land at no charge so that the single-family homes could be built, just like Ocean Breeze West. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Staff can remind us what was the neighborhood renaissance?
Excuse me, I'm going to let public comments finish, and
Oh, I'm
then
sorry, I
we're
didn't
going
realize there was more.
to allow comments from the board.
Thank you.
Yeah, Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. As the property owner who sits next to all of this, I would ask once again, this is your shining jewel. Please take that into consideration. And I'm not as eloquent as Mr. Katz, but I would say look to keeping it cottage. If this is supposed to be a cottage district, you should not be putting anything in that's not cottage looking. This is the entrance leading to the northern part of the city from Town Square. I'm assuming we're going to get lots of traffic heading north. We've got a beautiful neighborhood directly across the street with unique architecture that's been there forever, with several historic pieces back in there. We have the pocket north of that's the Habitat houses, and my argument is, besides the fact I don't want all this ugly stuff around my properties, and we have a beautiful historic cottage house, I would say think about making each pocket area of that neighborhood, of that district, Commissioner McCrae's district, make them their own distinct style. Why does everything have to look the same, be the same, whatever? Make little pocket areas, and this is your chance. You've got a nice, distinctive style across the street. Make this side distinctively cottage, whether you move the Magnuson house over or any other historic homes, because there are several throughout the city that are likely going to need a new place to go at some point. And then you've got the Ocean Breeze East, you've got the Habitat, you're creating little pockets, and they're each unique and each distinctive, and they will create their own little neighborhoods like they already have, but even more so. And I say, if you want to go with these things, fine, but move them to other areas that are not filled with, or that you're not trying to make a historic look. Something that's beautiful that everyone's going to notice when they leave the town square and start heading north to go towards Ocean Breeze East and MLK and any kind of commercial retail they have. So please, please, please think about what you're doing. This has long-ranging impacts, and please go lower density, single-family homes, and a cottage look. Thank you.
Well, one of the things is that, have we looked in to see how much it would cost? Oh, sorry.
I'm going to make this easy. My name is Perry Ecton, Executive Director of Sunrise City. I was reluctant against this proposal when it came to me to produce it. It's too high of a density, too much of a struggle. The person who said downscale this to single family, really, if you want to make this beautiful and nice, you're talking 25 to 30 single-family homes. Does not require rezoning, does not require 2 years in the planning department. It can be done in 18 months. I would agree not to move to the second one or the third one. I would put this back on the street for single-family housing, 30 units or less, under at 120% of median income or less for families. I think that's what And what I hear this community is looking for is something simple, something basic, something affordable. I'm not talking cookie cutters. I used to run Habitat. No, I don't believe you should put 25 Habitat homes in here that all look the same. I believe it should be unique, it should be different, but it should honor what the community says. Vice Mayor, I apologize to you. Section 8 home ownership does work. However, our idea was to work with Riviera Beach Housing Authority. If this proposal does go out on the street, we will come back in partnership with the Riviera Housing Authority, who we've met with. We have private financing in place for $10 million. That being said, I'm going to get screamed at as soon as I walk out of here by my bosses. But if this community is asking what is the right thing to do for the long run, the right thing to do is single family, small density, donate the land, make it work. I would put a recoverable loan on the land for the value of it that's forgivable after 20 years or 30 years to a family. So if somebody came in and bought it and wanted to flip it, the city gets its money back. The CRA gets its money. That's how you protect the idea of making it affordable housing to the long run. Put that deed restriction on the land. Make it work. There's down payment subsidies that can get these units to 120% of median income or less. Do that. Put it back on the street. Make us do our homework again. Make us work for this. Don't just throw it away. Okay? So if you have a motion to reject this, I ask you to allow my motion to remove it. Either one is acceptable. Thank you.
All right, Board Member Cass, final discussion, I guess, because we have a
Maybe
first-
staff
Okay,
could,
we got one more.
Yep, sorry.
Good evening, Minister Bernard Wright, 713 Northwest 2nd Street. God bless all of you all. And I just want to piggyback on David Katz and the community. This cottage district been in play for a long time, and we're in the residential area. Family homes. I know that I talked with some residents just a couple of days ago, and this is what I got. I wouldn't want to wake up and get up out my bed and look and see 2 and 3 stores in front of me. And I did that the other day, canvassing the neighborhood. My take is, I think that it's America's dream to have a single family home. And I wouldn't like for our community to be, kept from having that opportunity, as opposed to second story and 3-story townhouses. It just don't fit in there. In this neighborhood, it should be single family homes to give the residents a chance and these young people a chance to have an opportunity to be home owners, as opposed to rentals and apartments. You call them townhouses, but they last so long. People move in and out. There's a difference in single family homes. It's like neighborhood friendly, community friendly, so much as conducive to growth and development. Like with the 21 homes right across from me that was just built, the neighbors are now getting to know one another. They're interacting, and it beginning to feel like a community over again. So that's what we would like, as opposed to townhouses going up 2 and 3 stories that will invite people from a lot of different places. But when it comes to a neighborhood conducive, where you get to know one another as neighbors and you get to know one another as a community, single family homes is what brings that about, not townhouses and 2 and 3. So that's my take on the matter. And so as a resident there and a homeowner, I would like to see cottages as opposed to going skyscraper. God bless you all and have a great day.
Yes, Board Member Katz.
I wish, in reflecting on my comments at last meeting, that some of these speakers had been there to advocate on this last meeting, because this is exactly what I had indicated was my opinion when comparing these proposals. I don't know if I'm misremembering or if one of the speakers is misremembering, but the number 2 firm proposed a project with winding residential streets, almost exclusively single-family detached units. There was something in the realm maybe of 6 or 8 townhouses out of like 31 or 41. Could you? Because I feel like it's being described as not being a cottage district when like 80% of the houses were definitively single-family detached units.
Yeah. If I may, to answer Vice Chair and Board Member Katz's question, the original neighborhood Renaissance had 39 units. 21 single-family, one-story, three-bedroom, two-bath with garage, 18 townhouse unit, two stories, three-bedroom, two-and-a-half with garage. All the amenities that was requested for, open space exceeding it, and the one thing that we did identify is just really the city's capacity fee waiver. Of course, that's not within this board to review, but that was 21 single-family, approximately, if you can do without the townhouses, you can direct us, if you want to stick with Neighborhood Renaissance, to negotiate converting that to single-family, or, again, reject all
So
three.
with that being said, I think that
And it was Cottage District that they presented in their proposal.
per the motion on the table, to go with the second firm, we can direct them if the desire is to reduce or eliminate the townhouses. That'll drive the price up of the project because you're reducing the density there. But I just, not to be rude here, but we've heard people advocate for scrapping this and starting from square one of which was the original company that was selected and produced what, in my opinion, was an undesirable product, but then failed to even be able to deliver on those promises. So I have no intention of recasting another RFP to allow the selected firm to reapply after, the mea culpa and all that up there aside. I appreciate the realization that was not the project that should have gone here, but I will not vote for a company that we are now having to redo this process for their failure to deliver on their promises. As Vice Chair Romulus said, we've seen their product. It's not going to happen, and I don't think a revised version in accordance to what we're talking about now. So no, I don't that. And then another speaker, I'm sure, knows firms that would love to apply for a fresh RFP. We have a sound company that came in second place by a single point. Remember, it was a virtual tie. That was the preferred choice of staff in their independent evaluations. Essentially, all they need to do, per the recommendations or desires from the people in this board, is reduce or eliminate the townhomes with single-family units, which will have to eat some sort of cost on that, and then make sure that the facades, the exteriors of these properties, are in the style of the classic cottages, which again is something that if there's an increased cost associated with that over what their intended use was, again, we can further subsidize this project. And I think that number two company is fully capable. They put forth a product that needs minor tweaks. And from minute one and looking at their proposal, it looked like a neighborhood. If the facades of the building and the theme, the cottage theme, is something that we need to truly define and force upon them, so it's exactly what we're talking about, then I'm sure they would oblige if they're given the opportunity. So I appreciate the motion and I support it, and I'd like to go with the second choice.
Vice Chair.
I'd like to ask clarification from Tweet, since you have the information in front of you. What was the financial implications to the CRA for the second choice?
Of course. The CRA contribution would be the land donation, a cost of $1.12 million, and additional infrastructure cost of $1.2 million, and then the infrastructure waiver fee. Now, the $1.25 million of infrastructure costs, we, through negotiation, could vet that out with what the city staff would be intending to put towards infrastructure there. So we're not sure of that number that was given by NRI, Neighborhood Renaissance, was fairly vetted out with the city staff. So through negotiation, we, under the direction of the board, could vet some of those numbers out, but they're asking for approximately $2.3 million on the CRA's portion of it. And then they have financial commitment for construction of revolving loan fund to build these as they sell them. So they would bill approximately whatever amount that they have in their marketing plan to do, and use that proceed for the next 3 to 5 units, from what I remember. So there was commitment from the Florida Community Loan Fund to fund their construction costs. I don't know if they're still here. I didn't see. Okay, Michael's here. He may remember it more vividly than I do, but what it entails was one team was giving us $1 million for our land. The other was willing to do it, provided we provide land free of cost and infrastructure improvement costs. So if I my memory didn't serve me, is that?
You summarized our ask for that program, that plan with the townhouses and the single-family homes. The cash out of pocket, I think it was 1.4 million, which goes towards infrastructure, improving the streetscape, sidewalks, and lighting. The rest is the land value. We read the proposal or the RFP to try and get some density, and if you go to a place like Newport Beach or even Lake Worth with the cottages there, they're on very small lots. It is dense. So that was the atmosphere that we were trying to accomplish. And also, in a lot of the beach towns, there are two-story homes, single-family homes. Not everybody lives on, which economizes on land. We could actually split the townhomes into single-family. As far as architectural design, a cottage to me has a broad front porch. The design guidelines wanted a change in materials with a band at like the waistline of the house. Try to minimize the use of hip roofs, and that's what we did. And we chose a few homes to show you a design. The materials and colors can change. Unfortunately, we used a lot of blues and browns. And I also think that reducing the total number of getting rid of the townhomes may actually bring down some of the construction costs. And I think a single-family home is worth more than time.
Yeah. If I may ask, also, there was a 11.5% developer's fee that was proposed here versus the Sunrise at 6% contractor's profit. So there was something that we can negotiate if the board chooses, but that was one of the things the board did question regarding the developer's fee.
Tara, I just have a question. Is this everything that we're doing now okay?
Yes, it's okay. But you might want to wrap it up with the proposer at the podium.
Okay. So the motion and the second on the floor was to end contract negotiations and move forward with Neighborhood Renaissance for contract negotiations. Vice Chair, you had one last comment?
Yes, my motion stands, and I'd simply like to iterate that as staff moves into negotiation, if this motion carries with this entity, that we try as much as possible to maintain or possibly increase density, though I do want that cottagey appearance. I want to make sure we provide as much opportunity for as many people to have affordable housing within the city, and that's probably why I felt like I initially wanted to go towards the Sunrise direction, because they had that They gave that option where there were more opportunities and more possibilities for people to have affordable housing. That's why I didn't really support Neighborhood Renaissance last time. But again, being that Sunrise has fallen through, I'm willing to support Neighborhood. But again, I'd like to make sure that the numbers, it's great to have single-family homes. I love single-family homes. I live in one. But I want to make sure we try to give as many people the option of being able to affordably live here as possible, and that comes with density, and that's what I'm hoping that we can kind of have a win-win situation with this here.
Thank you. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Speaking of one of the public comments asking for the move of the Magnuson House, do you mind if we direct staff to see how much that would cost to move that into the Cottage District?
Well, just, I think, to price a move in general and see where we can go from there, because that's going to come to a head for sure with regards to that parcel.
Yep. So, can I get a consensus? Got ahead. So if staff can move forward looking into that.
Also, we're at the end of the meeting here, yeah.
So we got one more thing of new business of consideration of interlocal agreement between the Boynton Beach CRA and City of Boynton Beach for funding associated with the Sarah Sims Park Improvement Project.
Hold on.
Any motion, just make it subject to legal approval?
With regards to?
Just the technical, the interlocal agreement.
It's okay that I saw my name twice.
Huh? I didn't draft this one, so
Okay.
that's why it's going to be subject to legal review. It came
All
in
right.
late to the agenda.
Subject to legal review.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed? Seeing none, motion passed unanimously. Board Member Castillo?
Yeah, on a future agenda, Michael, can you give us an update on the Little House, where that's standing as far as the progress of that? Thank you.
I guess if you could give us almost a spreadsheet of all the other reverters that we have out as well, so that we have an
Be a
update.
project update, we'll include
Project,
7-Eleven and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Appreciate it. All right. Seeing any further comments? Where are we at?
We just did it.
We just did 14A.
15C,
Those we
the
don't have to
registration
approve
for
advisory
the
board.
FRA conference for the advisory board.
Did we not already approve that, or?
I don't think we did. We did 14A. We didn't do that.
I believe the CRA board decided just to send one member.
Yeah, somewhere, I'm saying, do we as a board have to make a motion and approve that?
Sorry.
No, you've already done that previously and in your budget. We were really reporting the result of
Reporting it
that.
to us.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
We'll have time for this.
No, they came on this.